Chapter 1482. Sir High Duke, is this the rare treasure you were talking about? But in my opinion, this pipa and dance are just as so-so. They are not treasures at all. Gu Qingzi suddenly spoke. Once he spoke, he did not give High Duke Ning and Princess Xiaorong any face. Princess Xiaorong, who was dancing halfway, suddenly stiffened. She staggered and the pipa's melody became messed up. It became very unpleasant to listen to. She could not help but glare at Gu Qingzi. She gritted her teeth and hated this uncultured blockhead. As a princess, she had put down her status and learned from those dancers. She danced and played the pipa to please him. Yet, he did not give her any face. He had gone too far. If it were not for her father talking her out of her mouth, she would not have come out to embarrass herself. Now, she was being ridiculed. She could not help but feel ashamed and angry. Her right hand went to her waist and she wanted to take out a whip to hit him. Xiaorong, don't be presumptuous. High Duke Ning saw Princess Xiaorong's intention. He looked at her sternly and shouted. Princess Xiaorong's face turned red. She said hatefully, "Father, did you not hear? This country bumpkin is humiliating your daughter. If you dare to speak rudely again, I will not let you off lightly. Father feels that divine Dr. Gu is right. Your dance is really ugly. What kind of thing are you playing the pipa? Father has hired a master for you in vain." Duke Ning reprimanded with a stern face. Princess Xiaorong saw that High Duke Ning was really angry. Her arrogance subsided and she pouted. Dr. Gu, please forgive me. Xiaorong has been spoiled by me since she was young. She has a straightforward personality. If her words offend you, please do not take offense. Gu Qingzi said calmly, High Duke, if you have something to say, why don't you get straight to the point? Why did you ask me to come to the High Duke's public house? It can't be that you want me to drink my fill and then admire your daughter's clumsy dance, right? You stinking country bumpkin. Princess Xiaorong was instantly angered. She pointed at him and cursed. Xiaorong, have you forgotten what your father told you? Quickly apologize to Dr. Gu. High Duke Ning shouted. Father. Princess Xiaorong could not help but stomp her feet in protest. Apologize. Princess Xiaorong's face was bright red but she did not dare to disobey her father. She gritted her teeth and said, High Duke, I apologize. Gu Qingzi didn't even look at her. High Duke, if there's nothing else, please open the door to the secret room. I'll be taking my leave. Duke Ning chuckled, Divine Dr. Gu, there are only you, my daughter, and me here. There are no outsiders. I'll be frank with you. Today, I've invited you over for one thing only. Oh, High Duke is finally willing to speak the truth. Tell me, what is it? I'm all ears. Duke Ning put away his smile and his expression became solemn as he said, Divine Physician Gu is young and handsome, and your medical skills are outstanding. This Duke feels like an old friend to you, and I admire you very much. I don't know why, but this Duke has always looked down on young people, but when I saw you, I felt that we were congenial. This Duke only has one beloved daughter, and she is my most precious treasure in this world. This Duke wants to hand my daughter's Xiaorong to you. What do you think, Divine Physician Gu? Chapter 1483. What? Lord Duke, are you joking? This joke isn't funny at all. After Gu Qingzi recovered from his shock, anger appeared on his face. Xiaorong Junju didn't believe her ears at all. She widened her eyes and said, Father. What nonsense are you saying? How can you promise your daughter's life to this country bumpkin? Shut up, Divine Dr. Gu is a dragon among men. What country bumpkin? If you say one more word of nonsense, I will slap your mouth. Duke Ning's face was full of anger as he scolded Zhao Rong. Zhao Rong Juanju's eyes were filled with tears. Due to her father's authority, she didn't dare to say anything else. She could only angrily stare at Gu Qingze. Seeing his coarse hemp clothing and his face that could barely be considered delicate, he wasn't even fit to carry the shoes of the emperor cousin in her heart. Father, even if you beat your daughter to death, your daughter definitely won't marry him. She panicked and immediately shouted without a care in the world. Pa! Duke Ning flipped his hand and heavily struck Zhao Rong Juanju's right cheek, leaving behind 5 red fingerprints. Shut up! He yelled loudly. Zhao Rong Juanju was full of grievances. She originally wanted to cry out loud, but after being yelled at by Duke Ning, she was so scared that her entire body shook. She covered her right cheek and didn't dare to cry out loud. She had never seen her father so angry at her before. She didn't dare to resent her father and could only glare at Gu Qingze. She thought to herself, if this country bumpkin dared to agree, she would definitely make him die a horrible death. In this lifetime, other than her cousin the emperor, she wouldn't marry anyone else. Gu Qingze coldly looked at the father and daughter pair. The corner of his mouth curled up in a mocking smile. Lord Duke's good intentions, this one cannot accept it. Your daughter is a princess with a body of 1,000 gold. This one is only of humble birth and a commoner. The difference in status is like heaven and earth. How can I be a match for the princess? Zhao Rong Juanju hatefully thought, at least this country bumpkin has some self-awareness. If you want to be a match for this princess, then reincarnate in your next life. Duke Ning said, Divine Dr. Gu, there is no need to be humble. In my eyes, it is my daughter who is not a match for Divine Doctor, not you who is not a match for my daughter. As for your status as a princess, it is just a title. As long as Divine Dr. Gu is willing, after you and my daughter get married, you will be the princess of the court. Divine Dr. Gu can enjoy all of the honor my daughter enjoys. Divine Dr. Gu can enjoy all of it. Gu Qingze coldly smiled and said, Lord Duke, does this one think this one is a greedy person? That's not it, that's not it. This one admires Divine Dr. Gu's pure and proud bearing. You are like a pure and clean lotus, untainted by filth. You see wealth and honor as nothing more than floating clouds, which makes this one look at you in a new light. This one admires your character and medical skills. As long as you don't despise my daughter's ugly appearance and stubborn personality, this one is willing to betroth my daughter to Divine Dr. Gu as a wife. Duke Ning stroked his beard and looked at Gu Qingze with a smile. The more Zhao Rong Juanju heard, the angrier she became. Her father had actually raised this country bumpkin to the heavens and reduced her to a dirt tower under his feet. How was she ugly and stubborn? She was clearly the Zhao Rong Juanju that everyone loved and the flowers bloomed when they saw her. Chapter 1484. Father, why do you have to give your daughter to him? What is so good about him? In what way could he compare to his cousin, the emperor? Didn't you promise your daughter that you would let your daughter marry the emperor cousin to become the empress? It's only been a day and you've already changed your mind. Why is this happening? Zhao Rong princess was angry and anxious. She pulled on Duke Ning's sleeve and spoke while crying. Duke Ning reprimanded, Stop calling him the emperor cousin, that is the emperor. The emperor already has an empress, how could he marry you? You'd better give up on that idea as soon as possible. The ancient divine doctor's character is good, his medical skills are divine, and he is the same age as you, he is a good match for you. Zhao Rong, believe father, father will not harm you and will not ruin your life. He said this while heavily patting the back of Zhao Rong princess' hand. Zhao Rong princess was stunned. Her eyes filled with tears as she looked at Duke Ning in a daze, not knowing what to say for a while. No matter how deep her thoughts were, how could they compare to Duke Ning's deep schemes and deep foresight? The fact that Duke Ning was able to say such words meant that he already had a plan. After returning from the Enchanting Palace, he understood that all his plans had gone to waste. Zhao Rong had made a fool of herself in the palace. It would be hard for her to change her fate. Her dream of becoming the Empress had been completely shattered. With Empress Dowager Zhou's personality, no matter how much she liked Zhao Rong, she would not allow a girl with a stained reputation to become the Empress. Of all the noble juniors in the capital, there would not be a single person that would ask for Zhao Rong's hand in marriage. Could it be that his precious daughter would be ruined like this? Would she become an old girl that no one wanted? Of course not. Duke Ning pondered for a long time before he thought of the most suitable candidate, and that was Gu Qingze. Even in his eyes, Gu Qingze was even more valuable than Mo Chuan. Although Mo Chuan was the West Chu emperor, what was West Chu? They were the weakest of the four countries and had been bullied by East Qin for many years, so they couldn't even take a single blow. If one day East Qin and South Yu worked together to attack West Chu would suffer the fate of being conquered. At that time, Mo Chuan would become a prisoner, and if Zhao Rong became the empress, she would also become a slave to another country. But Gu Qingze was different. He was the world's #1 divine doctor, someone that all four countries wanted to curry favor with. As long as the name of the #1 divine doctor was mentioned, everyone would rush to him like a flock, like stars surrounding the moon. Although he did not have an official position, he was even more prestigious than the emperor. No matter where he went, he would not be obstructed by anyone. If Zhao Rong married to him, she would have a lifetime of support. As for himself, now that he had become the father-in-law of the world's #1 divine doctor, would he still be afraid that others wouldn't rush to curry favor with him? Of course, this wasn't the most important reason. The most important reason was that he could rely on Gu Qingze's influence to attain his objective and fulfill his wish. Of course, he would not tell Zhao Rong Junju about his meticulous plan. If he told her, that idiot of a daughter would probably tell the world what he was thinking. Although Gu was Gu, he Ning not Gu, he was the Zhao, he was the same. Chapter 1485. A look of impatience appeared on Gu Qingze's face. Lord High Duke, your beloved daughter doesn't like me, and it just so happens that I don't like your daughter either. Lord High Duke, please don't mention this marriage again. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave. He was now very regretful. He really shouldn't have come to this banquet. He never thought that Duke Ning would have such an absurd idea. He actually wanted him to be his son-in-law. Duke Ning didn't even have time to speak before Zhao Rong Junju exploded. She pointed at Gu Qingze and shouted, "Stinky country bumpkin, what did you say? You don't like this region princess? You? Who do you think you are? What right do you have to look down on this region princess? Speak clearly to this region princess." She originally didn't want to marry Gu Qingze even if she was beaten to death, but when she heard that Gu Qingze didn't like her, the anger in her chest almost made her explode. Others wanted to marry her but couldn't, yet he still had a face full of disdain. Just for this, she still wanted to marry him. Stinky country bumpkin, this region princess is telling you, this region princess likes you. You have to marry me, even if you don't want to. I won't marry anyone but you. The more she thought about it, the angrier she became. She blurted out these words. Once the words left her mouth, she suddenly realized what she had said. She suddenly covered her mouth and her eyes widened. What was wrong with her? Did she lose her mind? She actually said she wanted to marry this country bumpkin. No, I won't marry. Father, I was just talking nonsense. Just pretend I didn't say anything. She forcefully shook her head and quickly denied it. A smile appeared on Duke Ning's face as he patted her shoulder and said, "Good child, I knew that you would agree to this marriage. Father's judgment can't be wrong." Divine Dr. Gu, I know that you are still young and tender, and I have made you embarrassed by proposing this rashly. How about this? I will give you some time to consider. He looked at Gu Qingze with a smile, his eyes full of expectation. Gu Qingze didn't even think about it and shook his head to refuse. His expression was very firm, there's no need to think about it. I definitely won't agree to this. I am just a nobody, not worthy of your precious regent princess. He said it resolutely and decisively, leaving no room for negotiation. Both Duke Ning and Zhao Rong regent princess were stunned. Especially Zhao Rong regent princess. It was like giving a golden phoenix to him. No one in this world would refuse such a wonderful thing, unless they were idiots. High Duke Ning had never thought that Gu Qingze would reject him. He believed that with his status, family background, and his daughter's beauty and martial arts skills, she was more than enough to marry Gu Qingze. It was like sending a golden phoenix to his side. There was absolutely no one in this world who would reject such a wonderful thing, unless they were a fool. But he didn't expect Gu Qingze to be such an needy. He also felt embarrassed. He looked at Gu Qingze and didn't say a word for a long time. Gu Qingze's cold gaze fell on his face. He suddenly curled his lips and said, High Duke, if I don't agree to marry Her Highness, are you going to kill me to silence me? He did not miss the flash of killing intent in Duke Ning's eyes. However, he wasn't afraid. His hands quietly pressed on the armrests and his eyes were fixed on Duke Ning. As long as the other party made a move, he would be able to preemptively strike first. Chapter 1486. Duke Ning's principle had always been, if you don't work for me, you will be killed by me. No matter how much he admired Gu Qingze, the moment Gu Qingze rejected him, the first thought that surged in his heart was, kill him. This secret room looked empty and there was nothing special about it, but the four walls, ceiling, and floor were all covered in hidden weapons. As long as he gently waved his hand, the hidden weapons coming from all directions would turn Gu Qingze into a porcupine. His finger was already on the hidden weapon switch. As long as he pressed it, Gu Qingze would have no chance of surviving. But seeing the other side's cold eyes looking at him, for some reason, Duke Ning's heart skipped a beat and his finger could not press it. He stared fixedly at Gu Qingze, and Gu Qingze stared back at him without showing any weakness. Their gazes met in the air, and a strange feeling suddenly arose in Duke Ning's heart. He not only wanted to use and admire this young man in front of him, but also had an indescribable palpitation. It was precisely this indescribable throbbing that made him want to do his utmost to rope in Gu Qingze, even to the extent that he didn't hesitate to take the initiative to betroth his daughter to Gu Qingze in order to achieve his goal. He wholeheartedly wanted to make Gu Qingze one of his own, but Gu Qingze refused him without any reason. Why? Why does he resist marrying Zhao Rong like this? If he doesn't want anything from me, why would he come to my banquet? Why doesn't he ask anyone else for a promise and instead asks me for one? He clearly wants something from me. Duke Ning's heart quickly turned with countless thoughts. He had invited Gu Qingze to the banquet as a test. If Gu Qingze did not come and rejected him like the other ministers, Duke Ning would not be surprised, but he had come. This was enough to show that Gu Qingze looked at him, Duke Ning, differently. Duke Ning believed that his judgment was not wrong. This was also the reason why he dared to propose marriage to Gu Qingze. Looking at West Chu, with Duke Ning's position, other than the emperor, it was him. If Gu Qingze wanted a backer, who else could it be but him? But to his surprise, Gu Qingze didn't even spare a glance at the embroidered ball he threw out. Could it be that he really didn't like Zhao Rong? Did he already have someone in his heart? The person he loved couldn't be his disciple, Chen Ning, right? Duke Ning's mind turned and his eyes fell onto his daughter. Although he saw Chen Ning as a thorn in his side, he had to admit that Zhao Rong was inferior to Chen Ning in every aspect. If he was Gu Qingze, he would not choose Zhao Rong. He was suddenly a bit discouraged and waved his hand. Zhao Rong, leave first. Zhao Rong Junju didn't want to stay here for a long time. Hearing this, she angrily glared at Gu Qingze and retreated behind the veil. With a creaking sound, she had already exited the secret room. Gu Qingze finally found out that there was a secret door behind the veil. Ever since he entered this secret chamber, he had been on high alert. With his level of understanding of mechanisms, he could naturally tell that this seemingly empty and ordinary secret chamber was filled with hidden mechanisms and killing intent, but he was not afraid at all. In fact, he even hoped to see High Duke Ning activate his mechanism, and he would be able to compete with him. He wanted to see if High Duke Ning's mechanism was more powerful, or if Gu Qingze's hidden weapons were more tyrannical. Chapter 1487. Seeing Zhao Rong Junju leave the secret room, Gu Qingze crossed his arms and smiled coldly. What, Lord Duke's honey trap didn't work, so what plan are you going to use to deal with me now? Duke Ning shook his head and said, Divine Dr. Gu has misunderstood this Duke. This Duke has always admired you and only hoped to be friends with you. How could there be the word deal? Speaking of which, this Duke still has a request. Ask me. A strange light flashed through Gu Qingze's eyes and the cold smile on his lips deepened. Lord Duke, what request do you have? Duke Ning stared at him. Suddenly, he grabbed the front of his robe with both hands and pulled it apart. The jade buttons fell to the ground and his upper body was revealed. He was over 40 years old, but because he had lived like a prince, his skin was still smooth and tight, white and fine. If he didn't take off his clothes, no one would be able to see that his skin was even more delicate than the face of a daughter of a noble family. However, his white and fine skin was covered in scales that looked like snake skin. It covered his chest and back, and even his 2 arms were covered in it. It made one's hair stand on end and it was a ghastly sight. If Zhao Rong Junju saw this scene, she would definitely scream. But Gu Qingze only looked coldly and didn't even move his eyebrows. Divine Dr. Gu, please save me. I have this strange illness that only you can cure. Please save me. There were only the 2 of them in the secret room. Duke Ning threw away his high and mighty position of a duke and began to beg bitterly. Gu Qingze was unmoved. His gaze slowly moved over the snake skin on his body and he smiled faintly. Lord Duke, you seem to have used the prescription that my disciple gave to treat your daughter, right? Yes, Divine Dr. Gu, you are so powerful that you can even see this. You must have a way to save me, right? Duke Ning's body trembled, and countless hopes sprouted in his heart from these words. It was because he had used the snake slough and gold thread that snakeskin-like skin lesions began to grow all over his body, replacing the original fish scales. What was most unbearable was not the snakeskin-like lines but the pain and itch that came with it. When he had fish scale spots on his body, it was unbearably itchy. But after it turned into snakeskin ringworm, it was painful and itchy. He didn't know whether to scratch it or not. The itch and pain drilled into his heart, and this feeling almost tortured him to the point of insanity. Throughout the banquet, he didn't know how much strength he used to maintain a smile on his face. He didn't want others to notice. But in reality, he couldn't sit still. He wanted to take a knife and cut off his skin piece by piece. And the most frightening thing was that he found that the snakeskin was rapidly spreading and expanding all over his body. Originally, it was only a small area on his chest, but it soon covered his chest, back, legs, and arms. At this rate, even his face would not be spared. What if his face was also covered with snakeskin? How could he go out and meet people? Was he supposed to stay in the public house for the rest of his life like a coward? Ning. In this world, the only person who could save him was Gu Qingze. Chapter 1488. Duke Ning said these words through gritted teeth. He knew that he didn't have any bargaining chips right now. The only thing that could move Gu Qingze was this condition. As for whether or not the words he said would count, it wasn't within his consideration. In any case, there were only the two of them in this secret room. It wasn't like yesterday in Enchanting Palace Hall. In front of the emperor and the civil and military officials, his promise was as heavy as Mount Tai and had to be fulfilled. Now, even if he made a few more promises, there was nothing to be afraid of. In any case, there was no third person who knew. In terms of scheming and thick-skinned, 10 Gu Qingzes couldn't compare to one Duke Ning. Gu Qingze raised his eyebrows. 10 promises. Yes, yes, yes. As long as Godly Doctor is willing to help, I will do whatever you want me to do. Duke Ning patted his chest and said very generously. Gu Qingze smiled coldly. Yesterday, in the Enchanting Palace Hall, I only asked for one promise from the High Duke, but the High Duke made all sorts of excuses and didn't agree to it. But today, you are so generous to make 10 promises. There are only the two of us here. I'm afraid that the High Duke has already made up his mind and wants to renege on the debt, right? Duke Ning thought to himself that this brat was so powerful that he could actually see through his thoughts. However, he was very shrewd. Even though his thoughts were exposed, his expression didn't change. Godly Doctor, you have the token that I gave you. As long as you take it out, I can't renege on the debt. Are you afraid that I will go back on my word? He said calmly. However, only he knew how much strength he had to use to keep the muscles on his face from trembling. The snakeskin on his body was already extremely painful and itchy. Every moment, he wanted to scratch it with all his might. Gu Qingze looked at him without blinking. From Duke Ning's face, he didn't see any signs of reneging. He also didn't want to renege. As long as he could no longer feel the pain and itch, he was willing to pay any price. Seeing that Gu Qingze didn't nod, Duke Ning finally couldn't help but say, Godly Dr. Gu, if you don't help me, are you going to watch me die? He did have the thought of dying in his heart. He was the dignified Duke Ning, who had a high position and was respected by everyone. If others knew that he had such a strange disease and had turned into a half-human half-snake monster, even if he didn't die from the pain, he would still die of shame. Moreover, the pain and itch went deep into his bones. It made him feel that every moment of his life was torture. It was better to die than to die. Moreover, the pain and itch went deep into his bones, making him feel that every moment of his life was torture. It was better to die. Duke Ning didn't notice. He nodded his head forcefully and said, That's right. I'd rather die if I have to continue suffering like this. If the ancient divine doctor refuses to save me, then I'll have no choice but to die. Gu Qingze couldn't help but sneer when he heard this. Duke, are you using your own life to threaten me? What you said, Duke's life. What does it have to do with me? Duke Ning's mouth twitched, and he said, My life is naturally nothing to the Godly Doctor, but if I die, then I will never be able to fulfill the promise I made to you. A sly look appeared on his face. This was his last bargaining chip, and it was also the most powerful one. Chapter 1489. Although Duke Ning didn't know what Gu Qingze wanted him to promise, this promise was equivalent to a contract between the two of them. It was the same as two grasshoppers tied to a rope. Advance together, retreat together. Originally, he thought this promise was a restriction on him, but now it seemed like it had become an advantageous weapon in his hands. He dared to conclude that before he fulfilled that promise, Gu Qingze would definitely not let him die, so he would definitely not stand by and watch his illness. I couldn't tell that Lord Duke's scheming was actually this deep. After a long time, Gu Qingze finally spoke slowly. He looked at Duke Ning with disdain, and sarcasm in his eyes. However, Duke Ning didn't care at all. As long as he could cure his strange illness, so what if he was looked down on? Being ridiculed a few times was nothing. Miracle doctor, you've agreed to treat my illness? The muscles on his face trembled slightly due to excitement, and his eyes shone brightly as he looked at Gu Qingze. Gu Qingze snorted noncommittally. Duke Ning was overjoyed. He knew that he had guessed correctly. The other party really had a favor to ask of him. Miracle doctor, as long as you cure my illness, there will only be benefits for you, and absolutely no harm. I'm definitely not an ungrateful person. In his joy, he didn't forget to promise the other party benefits again. Unexpectedly, Gu Qingze rolled his eyes and said coldly, "What, Lord Duke isn't? Has Lord Duke never done anything shameful in your life?" His voice was filled with anger and sarcasm. Duke Ning was stunned, then smiled and said, "I've done things with a clear conscience. Only people betray me, but I never betray anyone." Hee, Lord Duke's words are really pleasant to hear. Gu Qingze smiled coldly. Duke Ning ignored the obvious sarcasm on his face and said with a smile, "Miracle doctor, please take a look at my illness." He extended his hand. As the saying goes, strike the iron while it's hot. He wanted to kill this nail before Gu Qingze changed his mind. Gu Qingze sneered and said, "Lord Duke, are you afraid that I'll change my mind?" "You don't have to. You guessed correctly, I do have a favor to ask of you, so I won't let you die just like that." His voice was icy cold, carrying a bone-piercing chill. Duke Ning's back suddenly shivered. He felt that this young man in front of him seemed to have a deep-seated hatred towards him, so he couldn't help but look at his face. But with one glance, he found that the other's face was as usual. Other than indifference, there was no hatred. He couldn't see any. He laughed at himself for being too suspicious. He hadn't known the other for long and had never offended him, so where did he come from? Gu Qingze raised his hand and placed his fingers on his wrist. He closed his eyes and checked his pulse. State Duke Ning only felt that the other party's fingers were ice-cold, without the slightest bit of warmth. When they touched his wrist, he couldn't help but shiver. "Lord, are you afraid of me?" Gu Qingze suddenly opened his eyes and looked at Duke Ning with his bright and spirited eyes. Duke Ning's body trembled again. He forced a smile and said, "Divine Doctor, you must be joking. Why should I be afraid of you? Are you afraid that you will prescribe fake medicine or poison to me? The Divine Doctor is famous throughout the world, how could he be such a despicable person?" Chapter 1490. Duke Ning was startled, then he shook his head and said, "This Duke has never been infatuated with women. In this life, I only had Zhao Rong's mother as my companion. Before her, I never had any relations with other women. After she died, I no longer had any other thoughts. I only wanted to raise Zhao Rong well and find a good husband for her." These words were from the bottom of his heart. For some reason, he could clearly feel that Gu Qingze seemed to have a faint hostility towards him, but he still couldn't help but pour out his heart to the other. Perhaps in the depths of his heart, he still wasn't willing to give up and wanted to use Zhao Rong to pull Gu Qingze to his side. "Is that so?" Gu Qingze only said these two words before he closed his eyes and started to feel the pulse again. Duke Ning lowered his head slightly and stared unblinkingly at his face. That sparse eyebrow and straight nose suddenly gave him a feeling of déjà vu. In terms of appearance, Gu Qingze's facial features could only be said to be delicate and pretty, but in Duke Ning's eyes, he felt indescribably comfortable. A thought flashed through his mind. He seemed to have seen this young man somewhere before, but he couldn't think of any clues after searching through his memories. Speaking of which, his and Zhao Rong's eyebrows and eyes are somewhat similar. That's why I feel a little familiar. And, the two of them really do look a little similar. Could it be that this is really fate that was destined in a previous life? Duke Ning thought as he observed Gu Qingze's expression, his heart uneasy. After a long while, Gu Qingze finished feeling his pulse and withdrew his hand. Godly doctor, has my illness been cured? Duke Ning anxiously asked. Gu Qingze glanced at him. Lord Duke, why did you take the medicine that my disciple prescribed for the princess without any rhyme or reason? Your body that looks like a snake's skin is all from that snake's molt. Fortunately, you only took 2 doses. If you took it for 3 days, your entire body would be covered in snake skin, even your head and face would be no exception. At that time, you would become a strange person that looks like a snake. Ah. So this strange illness of mine is really caused by drinking that medicine. Duke Ning had long suspected this. Hearing Gu Qingze's words, he was even more afraid. At the same time, he rejoiced that he had invited Gu Qingze to the manor early on. Otherwise, he really would have become the snakeskin person that Gu Qingze spoke of. But, godly doctor, Zhao Rong also drank this medicine. After she drank it, she didn't have the same symptoms as me, so why did my body become like this? He thought and asked. Gu Qingze said coldly. Zhao Rong Junzhu has psoriasis. That snake skin and gold thread are the most effective medicines to treat psoriasis. But medicine is 3 parts poisonous. Lord Duke, have you heard of this before? This snake skin can treat psoriasis, but if those who doesn't have with psoriasis use it, then, they will become like state. Duke Ning couldn't help but blurt out, I also have psoriasis. It's the same illness that Zhao Rong has. I thought that Zhao Rong would be cured after taking that medicine, but after I took it, snake skin grew all over my body. Why is this happening? Gu Qingze replied with an "oh" and said faintly, Lord High Duke, you've also contracted psoriasis. Chapter 1491. Afterwards, red rashes began to appear on my skin, which then turned into red spots, and then into pieces of white fish scale-like skin flakes. The symptoms were exactly the same as what Godly Doctor had said. Godly Doctor, you said that Zhao Rong's strange disease was highly contagious, and it was very likely to be hereditary, so it must be me. I caused Zhao Rong to have this disease, so I concluded that it must be Godly Doctor. Coincidentally, the Empress gave Zhao Rong a prescription, and after Zhao Rong drank it, the effect was extremely good, so I also drank a dose. I didn't expect that not long after drinking the medicine, the fish scale-like skin flakes actually turned into snakeskin, and it was painful and itchy. Godly Doctor, quickly prescribe a dose of medicine, save me. Duke Ning had already endured for a long time, and at this time, he finally couldn't bear it anymore. He turned his hand over and grabbed towards his back. You can't grab. Gu Qingze pressed on the armrest, and a black rope suddenly flew out, wrapping around Duke Ning's wrist. What you have isn't Godly Doctor, but because you used medicine indiscriminately, it's full of snakeskin. If you scratch the affected area, the consequences will be unimaginable. When Duke Ning heard this, he didn't dare to grab anymore. Looking at the black rope on his wrist, his face was even more stunned. He couldn't see where this black rope had flown out from. Gu Qingze pulled on the mechanism, and the black chain retracted without a sound. Only then did Duke Ning realize that Gu Qingze's chair, which never left his side, actually had such a powerful hidden weapon hidden in it. He was instantly shocked, thinking that he had really underestimated this young man. No wonder he dared to come to the banquet alone, and dared to follow him into the secret room alone. Godly Doctor, please save me, save me. Duke Ning couldn't care less about his face, and knelt down in front of Gu Qingze. Gu Qingze's face turned cold, and with a turn of the wheel, he avoided his kowtow. Lord Duke, I'm just a lowly person from the mountains, and I can't accept such a big bow from you. If you continue to be like this, don't blame me for not treating you. Fine, 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 I won't kneel, please quickly treat me, Godly Doctor, I really can't take it anymore. Duke Ning hurriedly stood up. Gu Qingze thought for a bit, and then pressed the mechanism. He took out a bottle of ointment from a hidden medical box, and used his fingernail to pick out a bit, saying to Duke Ning, "This medicine will be very painful when applied to your body, can you take it? If you can't, then I won't waste this precious ointment." I won't waste this precious ointment." Duke Ning nodded his head repeatedly. When he heard that this ointment was extremely precious, his eyes instantly lit up. "Godly doctor, you said that I have psoriasis, but my symptoms are exactly the same as Zhao Rong's. Although the symptoms are the same, the treatment is different. You are a man, and she is a woman. One is yang, one yin, one hard, one gentle. Even if you have the same symptoms, the two prescriptions cannot be mixed. Does the High Duke not understand this principle?" Gu Qingzi said mercilessly. As he spoke, he applied the ointment in his hand onto Duke Ning's snakeskin. As soon as the ointment came into contact with his skin, Duke Ning let out a blood-curdling scream. He was in so much pain that his entire body was trembling. He shouted, "Ouch! It hurts. It's so king painful." Gu Qingzi said with a straight face, "If Lord Duke can't take it, then I won't apply it." Chapter 1492. Duke Ning gritted his teeth so hard that they creaked. His facial features were all scrunched together from the pain. Gu Qingzi nodded and said, "Okay, since it's like this, Lord Duke must endure it." He picked up the ointment and applied it bit by bit on Duke Ning's snakeskin. He only applied a small portion each time, but it brought Duke Ning a heart-wrenching pain. It was as if a sharp knife was slicing his flesh piece by piece. The pain made his face pale, and beads of sweat rolled down his forehead like rain. There were several times when his vision darkened and he almost fainted. But every time he was about to be unable to endure it, Gu Qingzi would slow down and let the heart-wrenching pain pass before continuing to apply the ointment on him. Duke Ning was secretly grateful for his attentiveness and consideration, but he would rather Gu Qingzi apply the ointment all over his body. It would be even more painful, and he might as well faint from the pain to avoid the pain of being sliced by a knife. He opened his mouth, but before he could speak, Gu Qingzi seemed to have seen through his thoughts. As he applied the ointment, he said unhurriedly, "Does Lord Duke wish for me to apply the ointment on you all at once? But that won't do. If that's the case, I'm afraid Lord Duke won't be able to endure the pain. It's very likely that you will faint from the pain and never wake up again. For Lord Duke's safety, it's better for you to endure it." Duke Ning was even more grateful. He gritted his teeth and endured the pain, saying, "Divine Dr. Gu is so thoughtful for me. I really can't thank you enough. This ointment needs to be applied for 20 days. I will write down the formula for this ointment for you. In the next 20 days, Lord Duke can find someone to apply the ointment on you. As long as you endure these 20 days, the snakeskin on your body will completely fall off. From then on, it won't relapse again. My medical skills are shallow, and I'm truly ashamed that I have to make Lord Duke suffer for another 20 days. Gu Qingzi spoke apologetically, but the expression on his face was calm and without a ripple, and his eyes flashed with a light that no one could understand. He seemed to be happy, excited, and even more like he was in a faint pain. 20 days. I have to suffer for another 20 days. Duke Ning sucked in a breath of cold air and almost fainted again. This time, the severe pain had almost taken his life. If he had to endure this pain for another 20 days, suffering the feeling of having his flesh cut by a knife every day, he would rather die. No, no, no. It was better to be alive. As long as he endured these 20 days of pain, his illness would disappear completely. He could see people again and sweep away the bad luck he had been hiding for the past 3 years. By the time Gu Qingzi finished applying the ointment, Duke Ning was already in so much pain that he only had half his breath. He couldn't even move. After a while, he finally let out a sigh of relief. "Godly doctor, Are you done applying it? Gu Qingze looked at Ning, and slowly, Duke Ning. Duke Ning, that he, divine doctor, Gu. All right, thank you, godly doctor. I'll open the secret door and send you out. That the ointed that, he, Duke, Ning, said, Duke, Ning, long, Duke, bye, Duke Ning said. Knowing that the ointment was effective, he was overjoyed. He pressed the mechanism and opened the secret room's door. Gu Qingze went outside and wrote a prescription on a piece of paper before handing it over to Duke Ning. Chapter 1493. Duke Ning nodded his head repeatedly and took the prescription. He held it tightly in his palm like it was a treasure and repeatedly thanked Gu Qingze. Gu Qingze glanced at him and faintly said, I still have a bottle of pills here. I'll give it to Princess Xiaorong. Although my disciple has prescribed the right medicine, she doesn't understand the effects of supplementation. The medicinal properties of the snake slough and the gold thread are fierce. Princess might feel uncomfortable after taking them, but if she takes this medicine of mine, there won't be any problems. He took out a porcelain bottle and handed it to Duke Ning. Many thanks, Divine Dr. Gu. I didn't think that Divine Doctor would still care about my daughter's illness. Wait until I call my daughter out to personally thank you. Duke Ning was surprised, but a smile quickly spread across his face. He took the medicine bottle and prepared to send someone to call Princess Xiaorong. No need, this is nothing. I still have matters to attend to, so I'll take my leave now. Gu Qingze didn't even want to look at Princess Xiaorong. After speaking, he turned his wheelchair and left. Duke Ning was filled with gratitude as he personally saw him out of the fu. He stood in front of the gate and watched as the carriage he was in moved further and further away until it disappeared. He was still looking in the direction he left in. His heart was filled with emotion. This young man called Gu Qingze was not arrogant or impetuous, did not covet wealth and glory, and did not like beauties. Yet, he had superb medical skills. He was truly a talent that was rarely seen in 100 years. It would be a great waste if he couldn't use this kind of talent. He heard that in 2 days, he would be leaving the capital. Duke Ning had to think of a way to make him stay in these 2 days. If he let this talent go, it would be a great loss for him. It seemed that he had to think of a way through Xiaorong. No matter how virtuous that Gu Qingze was, he was still a hot-blooded youth. How could a youth like him not like beautiful young women? Duke Ning was experienced. He knew that with Xiaorong's appearance, she was one of the best among the noble young ladies of the capital. How could Gu Qingze not be moved? He had declined Xiaorong's marriage in the secret room, but he was just putting on an act. If he really had no interest in Xiaorong, how could he so easily treat his illness? Also, not only did he give him the recipe for the ointment, he was also concerned about Xiaorong's illness and left a bottle of medicine for her. If this wasn't having feelings for Xiaorong, what was it? Duke Ning became more proud the more he thought about it. He returned to the fu and went straight to Princess Xiaorong's garden. He handed the bottle of medicine that Gu Qingze had left for him to Xiaorong Junju and specially said, "This is the medicine that Dr. Gu gave to me before he left. It was specially prepared for you. You must treasure Dr. Gu's good intentions." Xiaorong Junju was still angry. Every time she heard the 3 words, ancient godly physician, she felt her chest tighten. Hearing this made her even angrier. What bullsh** T miracle doctor? I think he's just a Jianghu swindler. I don't want to use his medicine. She picked up the bottle and was about to throw it out when Ningguogong glared at her. Her hand that was holding the bottle stopped in midair. "Father, why do you keep saying good things about that country bumpkin? You wouldn't really want your daughter to marry him, right?" She flattened her lips. "Marry him? Even if you want to marry him, he might not want to marry you. Duke Ning glared at his daughter and said unhappily. Chapter 1494. The Zhaorong princess relied on her father's love and threw herself into Duke Ning's embrace like a spoiled child. If it was a normal time, Duke Ning's heart would have softened seeing his beloved daughter acting spoiled like this. If she said she wanted the stars in the sky, he would even give them to her. But this time, the Zhaorong princess move didn't work. Duke Ning did not go along with her and instead scolded her with a serious face. Zhaorong, you were arrogant before and father allowed you to do whatever you wanted, but your marriage was decided by father. If you want to marry the emperor and become the empress, you should just give up on that thought. He hardened his heart and pushed Zhaorong away from his embrace. The Zhaorong princess was stunned. She looked at Duke Ning in a daze and shouted in disbelief, "Father! Why? Why? You still have the nerve to ask me why? You made a fool of yourself in the palace yesterday, could it be you don't remember? But, your daughter was clearly framed by that little slut." "Framed? Do you have any proof? What makes you say that she framed you? Did she infect you with the psoriasis on your body?" "Zhaorong, things have reached this point, why are you still so stubborn? Father, you promised your daughter yesterday that you would help your daughter ascend to the Empress throne, but you changed your mind after just one night. Why?" The Zhaorong princess' eyes filled with tears. Duke Ning looked at her in disappointment, because father has already seen it clearly, you can't become the Empress. Your daughter doesn't believe it. The Empress Dowager loves your daughter so much, she will definitely help your daughter. The Zhaorong princess thought of Empress Dowager Zhou and her eyes lit up, like she had grasped a piece of driftwood. Empress Dowager. Stop dreaming. The Empress Dowager didn't see your scandal yesterday, but it will reach her ears sooner or later. Do you think she will agree to let you marry the emperor just because she loves you? She will not tolerate a daughter-in-law with a dirty reputation. The Empress is the best example. With her as an example, you should give up on this idea," Duke Ning cruelly said. He really couldn't watch his daughter immerse herself in the dream of becoming the Empress. Since she wanted pain, he would quickly cut it off and let her feel pain once she was satisfied. The Zhaorong princess' body trembled and her eyes opened wide in disbelief. She forcefully shook her head and said, "Impossible, the Empress Dowager loves her daughter the most. The person she loves the most is me, she wouldn't be this cruel to me. She promised mother, she would take care of me for my entire life." Silly daughter, wake up. What kind of person is the Empress? She has been in the palace for several decades, do you think her love for you is true? Do you think she has her eyes on you? If not for the fact that your father is Duke Ning, do you think she would treat you like this? Previously, she wanted you to enter the palace because she wanted to rope me in. But now, you have already lost your value. No matter what, she will not let you marry His Majesty. If you still haven't given up, tomorrow you can go into the palace and ask her yourself. Duke Ning's words were like a stick to Zhaorong region princess. She was dumbfounded. Chapter 1495. Duke Ning gave a sigh and hugged his daughter in his embrace. He patted her shoulder to comfort her. "Zhaorong, father is doing this for your own good. Believe in father's eyes, father will not harm you. Although that Gu Qingze is a commoner and has no official position, if you marry him, you will be even more glorious than marrying the emperor. The things you want, you will obtain them sooner or later." Zhaorong's eyes were filled with tears as she sobbed and said, "But, father, your daughter doesn't just want to be the empress, your daughter truly likes cousin the emperor. You like him, but he doesn't like you. Yesterday at the palace banquet, father clearly saw that the emperor only had the empress in his eyes, he did not even look at you once. Even if the Empress Dowager really decrees a marriage for you and you marry the emperor, he will not truly treat you. Are you really willing to be under someone else? The person you hate will bully you every day and you will have no choice but to lower your head to her. You have always been proud since you were young, you won't be able to live like this for even a day. Think about father's words, are you really not going to marry anyone other than the emperor? State Duke Ning tried his best to persuade him. Zhao Rong's mind was in chaos. The scene that Duke Ning described made her heart explode with rage. She had to be under Qin Ning and kowtow to Qin Ning when she saw her. Then she would be better off dead. No, your daughter doesn't want to live like that. But, your daughter can't bear to part with cousin the emperor. Zhao Rong's lips twitched as she began to cry again. She thought of Mo Chuan's handsome and refined appearance, it was as clear as if it was right in front of her. In the 3 years that she had left the capital city, there was not a day that she didn't think of Mo Chuan in her heart. Not only did she love Mo Chuan's identity, she also loved his handsome face and his cold and aloof demeanor. Even if he didn't say anything, as long as she could silently look at him, it was a great pleasure for her. Thinking of how she had to give up her handsome as an immortal emperor cousin and marry that ordinary-looking country bumpkin that couldn't even hold her cousin's shoes, her heart felt like it was blocked by a large piece of cotton. Father, why do you want me to marry that country bumpkin? Even if I can't marry the emperor, there are still many other illustrious young masters and nobles in the capital who admire me. I don't want to marry a country bumpkin who only knows how to farm. I'll be laughed at by others. Silly girl, don't be so short-sighted. Have you heard of the saying, don't bully the young for being poor? You think that Gu Qingze is a country bumpkin, but in father's eyes, he has limitless potential. If you marry him, you will definitely live a more glorious life than marrying anyone else. Duke Ning said with confidence. Zhao Rong Junju wiped her tears and said doubtfully, but I really can't see what's so good about him. He's so ugly, he doesn't know any martial arts, and he's a cripple. But he has been sitting on that broken wooden chair the entire time and his butt hasn't moved at all. It's clear that his legs aren't good. Nonsense, he isn't a cripple at all. Duke Ning interrupted her and reprimanded her. Chapter 1496. When Duke Ning recalled the black rope that had suddenly wrapped around his wrist, he couldn't help but admire Gu Qingze even more. He likes to sit in a chair because he doesn't know martial arts. However, he is more skilled than most people who know martial arts. Do you think that your mediocre martial arts can beat him? If you don't accept it, you can compete with him another day and see who is stronger. Zhao Rong Junju was unconvinced and said, Father, you are boosting his ambition and diminishing your daughter's prestige. Your daughter has learned martial arts for 3 whole years. Your daughter doesn't believe that I can't beat that country bumpkin who doesn't know martial arts. Okay, if you don't believe me, then you can go and compete with him. But let me say the ugly words first. If you lose to him, you have to marry him. Duke Ning stared at Zhao Rong Junju and said. Okay, it's a deal. Father, if your daughter wins, then you can't force me to marry that country bumpkin. Promise me first that you will find a way for me to marry cousin. Zhao Rong Junju rolled her eyes and smiled through her tears. She had complete confidence in her heart that she could absolutely beat Gu Qingze into a sorry state. It's a deal. Duke Ning extended his hand and lightly clapped his daughter's palm 3 times. He also had a confident smile on his face. He believed that Gu Qingze would not lose to his daughter. This is the medicine that godly Dr. Gu left for you. Quickly take it. If you want to win, you have to cure your illness. He took the medicine bottle from Zhao Rong's hand and stuffed it back into her hand. Zhao Rong Junju nodded her head and said, Father, if your daughter takes this medicine, then I won't have to eat that disgusting snake skin and that bitter gold thread anymore, right? She ate snake skin and gold thread for 2 days in a row. The gold thread was so bitter that she couldn't even open her mouth. The snake skin had a fishy, smelly, and salty smell that made her want to vomit. It was really hard to swallow and she had to pinch her nose and force it down every time. Of course, Duke Ning said. Zhao Rongjunju immediately smiled from ear to ear. She uncorked the bottle and poured out a white pill. She first brought it to her nose and sniffed it. Not only was it not fishy or smelly, but it also carried a faint sweet smell. Only then did she relax and put it in her mouth and swallow it. Father, just because he gave me this bottle of medicine, I will not let him lose so badly. She giggled. Don't be too confident. It is still unknown who will win. If you lose, I will have a genius doctor son-in-law. Duke Ning stroked his beard and smiled. Zhao Rongjunju stomped her feet and pushed Duke Ning out of the room. She angrily said, "It's getting late. Father, you should go back to sleep. I will go find him tomorrow morning and compete with him. At that time, I will let you see my skills." "Humph, I will beat him until he begs for mercy." She had already decided that she would win no matter what and would not. She wouldn't marry that country bumpkin. Duke Ning faintly smiled and didn't say anything more. He walked out with his hands behind his back. Zhao Rongjunju waited until Duke Ning's figure completely disappeared from her sight before she closed the door. She walked to the wall where a landscape painting was hanging. She lifted the paper and revealed a secret door on the wall. She pushed hard on the secret door, and it slowly opened, revealing a secret passage and a flight of stairs that led to the underground. Zhao Rongjunju took a candle stand and walked down the stairs. Chapter 1497. Behind the metal door was a small dark room. There was only a bed and a wooden table inside. There was a person lying on the bed, and there was an oil lamp burning on the wooden table. The dim light shone on the face of the person lying on the bed, making the face look especially haggard and sallow. Even the bright red clothes on the person's body had become dull and lifeless. Although that face was haggard, his facial features were surprisingly young and handsome. He had thick eyebrows and long eyelashes, a high nose bridge, and thin yet angular lips that were tightly pursed. His face was pale and bloodless. His eyes were closed as if he was asleep. Even the sound of Zhao Rong Princess' footsteps didn't make him open his eyes. The red-clothed youth lying on the bed was the thousand-faced young master who had escaped from the imperial palace. Zhao Rong Princess stood in front of the bed and silently looked at him for a long time before finally speaking. "Thousand-faced young master." She called out softly. The red-clothed youth on the bed didn't move at all. If it weren't for the slight rise and fall of his chest that made it seem like he was still breathing, he would seem like a dead person. Zhao Rong Princess bit her lip. She wasn't sure if he was really asleep or if he didn't want to pay attention to her. She waited for a long time before her patience finally ran out. "I have something to say to you. I don't care if you're asleep or awake. I'll count from 1 to 3. If you still don't wake up, I'll throw you at the main gate of Guan Osprey Palace," she said fiercely. 1. 2. Before she could count to 3, the red-clothed youth suddenly opened his eyes. He coldly stared at her but didn't say anything. Zhao Rong Princess proudly raised her nose and snorted. "Thousand-faced young master, now isn't the time for you to act mighty in front of this princess. If this princess hadn't saved you, you would have already fallen into that little vixen's hands. Perhaps you would have been tortured by her until you didn't look like a human or a ghost. How could there be a quiet place like this for you to heal in peace?" Her current attitude was arrogant. She was no longer the Zhao Rong princess who didn't dare to raise her head or speak loudly in front of him. This was because the red-clothed youth on the bed was no longer that mysterious assassin from Purple Heaven Pavilion. He had already lost his cultivation and was lying on the bed all day like a fish out of water. The red-clothed youth said coldly, "Then I really must thank your highness for your kindness. You saved me and imprisoned me in this dark place. Aren't you afraid of the consequences? Consequences? What consequences? Zhao Rongjunju blinked her eyes and asked innocently. The young master in red gritted his teeth and said coldly, Your Highness, you can't be so forgetful. I am a member of the Purple Heaven Pavilion. Those who offend the people of the Purple Heaven Pavilion will never have a good ending. Although his voice was weak, his eyebrows were raised and he was full of vigor. The cold-faced, emotionless killer had returned. Zhao Rongjunju felt a chill run down her spine from the murderous look in his eyes, but then she laughed unconcernedly. Thousand-faced young master, what are you being arrogant for? Do you think this is your Purple Heaven Pavilion? Don't use Purple Heaven Pavilion's name to scare this princess. Do you think the news of you being locked up here by me will spread? She laughed arrogantly and proudly. Chapter 1498. Although the person in front of her had become like this because of Qin Ning, she did not care. Everyone that went against her and looked down on her were her enemies, including this red-clothed young master. The red-clothed young master looked at the completely different Zhao Rong princess and the killing intent in his eyes slowly disappeared. He laid on the bed without moving. He did not even have the strength to lift a finger. The internal energy that he had painstakingly cultivated for 20 years seemed to have completely disappeared. Not a single drop was left. He had even thought of cultivating again, but every time the true qi in his body condensed and took shape, it was immediately swallowed by an invisible beast, leaving not even a scrap behind. That damn bone-melting pill, it was this powerful. Without internal energy, he was like a cripple. No matter how ugly the Zhao Rong princess words were or how she insulted him, he did not have the ability to resist. He could only endure the humiliation. The red-clothed young master closed his eyes and covered up his anger and hatred. 10 years is not too long for a gentleman to take revenge. As for why the Zhao Rong princess' attitude towards him was like a completely different person, he vaguely understood. This was because he remembered his respected master, the master of the Purple Heavens Pavilion, had once said, in this world, it is better to offend a villain than to offend a woman. Once a woman becomes ruthless, she is much scarier than a man. He did not understand these words before. He did not understand why the invincible master in his eyes would be afraid of a woman. What was there to be afraid of? They were all as weak as little chicks. He could break their necks with a pinch. He did not even care about killing women. It was not until he met Qin Ning that he realized for the first time that his master's words were the golden rule. They could not be any more accurate. There was only one woman as ruthless as Qin Ning in this world. But he never thought that when the idiot Zhao Rong princess became ruthless, he would not be able to handle it. Only a man would know when to yield and when to stand tall. The red-clothed young master opened his eyes and said to the Zhao Rong princess in an apologetic voice, "It was my fault in the past. My words offended the princess. I hope the princess is a magnanimous person and will not take it to heart. If the princess has any use for me, just tell me. I will definitely help the princess fulfill her wish and repay you for saving my life." His eyes were sincere and his tone was sincere. The Zhao Rong princess had always been open to coaxing but not coercion. When she heard these words of apology, she felt an indescribable comfort. Especially when she saw the arrogant thousand-faced young master being as obedient as a sheep in front of her, her heart was bursting with satisfaction. However, she was not stupid enough to believe everything that others said. At this time, the red-clothed young master had lost his power. That was why he was so obedient when he fell into her hands. However, which one of the people in the Purple Heaven Pavilion was simple? Especially this thousand-faced young master. She had long heard that the thousand-faced young master was the most powerful assassin in the Purple Cloud Pavilion. His assassination methods were endless, and his face was ever-changing. No one in the Jianghu had ever seen his true face. Now that he had no inner force, he was like a snake without teeth, nothing to be afraid of. She looked at the extraordinarily handsome face of the young man in red and suddenly felt curious. Chapter 1499. This face was very unfamiliar. Although it was pale and haggard, it was still so good-looking that people couldn't take their eyes off of it. It was not any worse than her royal cousin. The red-clothed young master gave a bitter laugh. He did not deny or admit it. The mask on his face had been shattered by Qin Ning's spear. After he was saved, the Zhao Rong princess had sent people to wash his face. The remaining dandruff on his face had also been washed away. In these past few days, he had been thinking of a way to recover his strength and had forgotten about the mask. This face was indeed his original appearance. But in front of the Zhao Rong princess, he was not willing to admit it. This was because other than his master, no one in the Purple Heaven Pavilion had ever seen his real face. If you don't say anything, does that mean you admit it? The Zhao Rong princess was still young. When she saw a beautiful face, she couldn't help but compare it to her royal cousin. Her eyes turned around and looked at the red-clothed young master's face. After looking at it for a while, she made a comment, "It's a pity. Although you are good-looking, you can't compare to my royal cousin. You look too much like a woman, you are even better looking than a woman." The red-clothed young master's originally pale face suddenly turned red. The shame and humiliation made him clench his fists. He gritted his teeth and his eyes were filled with anger. These familiar words made him think of Qin Ning. That damn hateful woman. What did she call him? Sissy. He was confused at the time, but now he understood. This was the meaning of the word sissy. Great humiliation. This was a great humiliation. In this world, there was nothing more humiliating than this. It was saying to a man, "You look more like a woman than a woman." He was not a eunuch. Say that again. The red-clothed young master said in a low voice. His voice was filled with danger. The Zhao Rong princess did not care at all. She giggled, "I said that you look like a woman. If you dress up as a woman, perhaps even that little slut will lose to you. How about I dress you up as a woman and send you into the palace? Perhaps my cousin, the emperor, will be enchanted by you the moment he sees your beauty." "Oh, that's a good idea. Let's do it that way. I'll go get the makeup tools right now." She turned to leave. As she walked, she couldn't help letting out a proud laugh. She applauded herself for coming up with such a good idea. What? Wait, stop right there. The red-clothed young master did not care about being angry. His eyes almost popped out from his head. You're telling the truth. You're not joking. Of course it's true. Do you think this princess is bored and has time to play with you? Zhao Rong Junju turned around and smiled proudly at him. Master Thousand Faces, I'm sure you're looking forward to seeing how beautiful you are when you turn into a woman, right? Don't worry, you'll see it soon enough. I'll find a maid who's the best at makeup to dress you up so beautifully that all the men will fall for you the moment they see you, and they'll bow down to you. She found it both interesting and funny. She very happy. She excited. She. The young man in red gritted his teeth and called out to her again. Chapter 1500. The red-robed young master gritted his teeth in hatred, but he knew that he had no power to resist. He could only do whatever Zhao Rong Junju said. He took a breath and said, "Junju, you only need to bring some makeup and disguise tools. Don't call me a maid. I believe that no one in this world is better at disguising themselves than I, the thousand-faced young master. I can change into whatever you want me to look like. I will be as charming as you want me to be. Really? Yes, yes, how could I forget? Since you are called the thousand-faced young master, your disguising skills must be top-notch. Okay, then wait for me here. I will bring the tools immediately. Zhao Rongjunju excitedly rushed out of the secret room. All that was left was the dim light and the red-robed young master lying on the bed. He turned his head and looked at the dim candle flame. His eyes narrowed dangerously. Even this idiot Junju was trying to bully him. Very good, he would remember this debt. One day, he would make them pay for all the humiliation he had suffered, bit by bit. He would not let a single one of them off. Zhao Rongjunju had returned faster than he had imagined. She carried a large bundle in her hands. With a face full of excitement and joy, she rushed into the secret room. She placed the bundle on the table and opened it. The red-robed young master only took one look and his face turned green. The bundle was filled to the brim with a lot of things used for women's makeup, such as rouge, face powder, balm, hair oil combs, as well as a screwdriver for drawing women's eyebrows. There were also several mirrors. Zhao Rongjunju had packed up all the makeup items on the table. However, there were very few disguising tools. There were only a few disguising pills that could change one's skin color. They were of the lowest quality. Normally, the thousand-faced young master wouldn't even look at them. The red-robed young master stared at the pile of makeup items on the table. He knew that Zhao Rongjunju was serious. She really wanted to make herself look like a woman. He, the thousand-faced young master, had changed his appearance countless times in his life. Old people, children, scholars, beggars, he would look like anything, but he had never once disguised himself as a woman. Thousand-faced young master, do you think these things are enough? If not, I will have the maids prepare more. What else do you need? Zhao Rongjunju presented the cosmetics one by one in front of the red-robed man like she was presenting a treasure. With a face full of pride, she said, "The things here are the best and most expensive in the entire capital. Just one box of rouge from the 10,000 fragrances house costs 500 taels of silver. Even so, not many people in the capital can buy it." The red-robed young master didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Now that things had come to this, he still wanted to struggle. "Your Highness, I know you hate that girl with the surname Shin. Although I've lost my power, I have many ways to deal with someone. I don't necessarily have to kill her. You hate her so much. If you let her die so easily, wouldn't that be letting her off easy? If you want to find someone to help to deal with Shin, I am the most suitable candidate." His eyes were filled with anticipation as he stared at Zhao Rongjunju. As long as he didn't have to disguise himself as a woman, he was willing to do anything. Chapter 1501. She angrily threw a bag of powder at the red-robed man's face and angrily said, "This is the good thing you gave me. What catnip? Bullshit. I sent people to sprinkle it on that little B***tch's clothes. I also saw her drink the catnip powder, but it didn't work at all. I even sent people to go around the city and catch more than 100 wild cats and place them near the palace, but the result? I didn't even see a shadow of a cat. That little B***tch didn't even lose a single strand of hair." The red-robed man was stunned. He stared blankly at the bag of powder and said hesitantly, "Your Highness, did you take out the wrong powder? Is this not catnip? I gave you the purest catnip powder and the catnip powder. It's impossible that the cats wouldn't be interested." "Humph, you gave me a bag of fake powder to fool me. You want me to give you a place of protection and you want my father to make a promise. In your dreams. Fine, since you insist that this powder is real, then I will test it on you." The more she spoke, the angrier she became. She tore open the bag of powder and sprinkled it all over the red-robed man's face. Immediately, a faint minty aroma enveloped the red-robed young master's entire body. The red-robed man's expression changed and he cried out, "Your Highness, don't. Please don't." He had personally purified the catnip powder, so he knew better than anyone how powerful it was. He could clearly smell that this bag of powder was the purest catnip. It was not fake at all. Zhao Rong Princess grunted and took out the catnip powder from her bosom. Without another word, she sprinkled it all over the red-robed man's body. The red-robed man could not move. His face became extremely pale and his eyes revealed a look of fear. He perked up his ears. Although he had lost his power and this secret room was deep underground, he seemed to hear the sounds of wild cats outside. Zhao Rong Princess seemed to hear it as well. She shook her head and said strangely, I think I heard the sound of cats. Could it be that this catnip powder is effective again? Right, this secret room is hidden underground. Cats can't get in. Whether this powder is effective or not, I will take you out and you will know. She grabbed the red-robed man's shirt and lifted him up effortlessly. She walked out of the secret room. Your Highness, don't go out. Don't go out. You will kill me. The red-robed man's face was ashen as he shouted, I promise you. I promise you that I will disguise as a woman. I promise you, I will disguise as a woman right now. Your Highness, put me down, put me down. Zhao Rong Junju pursed her lips. You used fake medicine to deceive me. Did you think that by pretending to be a woman, you would be able to appease my anger? Didn't you say you weren't lying? Didn't you say that this catnip powder was real? Zhao Rong Princess. Alright, prove it to me. If it really attracts stray cats, then I'll believe you. Princess. This catnip is and the catnip powder is. Is his powder is. Is. Is powder 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 powder. Is. Believe me, if I lied to you, I'll be struck by lightning from the heavens. Your Highness, please don't go out, don't. The red-robed young master shouted in panic. You are a man and you are afraid of a stray cat. Shut up for me. You are making a lot of noise. You're a man, and you're afraid of a stray cat. Shut up. You're so noisy. Chapter 1502. The red-robed young master's eyes were filled with fear. His mouth opened and closed like a struggling fish. Unfortunately, he could not utter a single word. Zhao Rong Junju brought him out of the secret chamber and into her own room. She threw him on the floor and clapped her hands. Okay, I will leave you here. I will come and see you in the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. If you really attract stray cats, then I will believe that you did not lie to me. But if you cannot attract stray cats, then I will not only ask you to disguise as a woman, but I will also turn you into a woman. She glared at the red-robed young master threateningly. However, the red-robed young master did not even look at her. He did not hear a single word of her threat. At this moment, his heart was filled with satisfaction and fear. Outside the window, the sound of stray cats began to rise and fall. The red-robed young master groaned inwardly. He thought to himself, so many stray cats have already smelled me. Why would I need the time it takes for an incense stick to burn? I cannot move. I am afraid that within the time it takes to drink half a cup of tea, these stray cats will tear me to pieces and eat me clean. Thinking about the scene of being cut open and eaten by the stray cats, even the red-robed young master, who killed without blinking an eye, could not help but tremble. He could not speak. He could only stare at Zhao Rong Junju with a pleading look in his eyes. He wanted her to take him away. Zhao Rongjunju did not pay attention to him. She had also heard the stray cats outside the window and could not help but talk to herself. There is indeed the sound of cats. However, whether this powder is effective or not, I will have to see it with my own eyes. Okay, you will stay here for the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. I will unseal your acupuncture point. Let me see how the famous assassin of the Purple Cloud Pavilion will deal with these stray cats. She slightly curled her lips, revealing an evil smile. She unsealed the acupuncture point of the red-robed young master and then entered the secret door. With a creaking sound, the secret door closed. The room was pitch black. Only the red-robed young master's terrified breathing could be heard in the darkness. Other than fear, there was still fear. Although his acupuncture point was unsealed and he could move, fear made him lose the ability to move. Outside the window, through the paper, countless black shadows suddenly appeared. There were also pairs of evil eyes staring at him in the darkness, making him shudder. Bastard! Damn it! Zhao Rong, if you let this prince feed wild cats, after this prince dies, I definitely won't let you go. I will turn into a wild cat, peck out your eyes, and use my claws to crush your face. I will let you die a horrible death. The red-robed gentleman was terrified to the extreme. He cursed angrily and viciously in his heart, but Zhao Rongjunju could not hear him. Rip! Suddenly, the thin window paper was torn by the sharp claws of a stray cat. A stray cat lightly jumped in, almost making no sound. Chi-la, chi-la, chi-la. The paper window was vulnerable to the sharp claws of the wild cats, and was torn into pieces one after another. Another cat jumped in, then a third, a fourth. There were more and more stray cats in the room. The red-clothed young master could not tell how many stray cats were surrounding him. All he could see was the ghostly green eyes of the cats flashing around him. They were everywhere, and he could not count them all. Chapter 1503. Not to mention that he had lost his internal energy, so he had no way of fighting against the wild cats. Before long, he would be torn to pieces by these hungry wild cats. Ayo-woo. Suddenly, a wild cat was stimulated by the scent of the catnip and thorn mustard grass on the red-clothed young master's body to the point of losing its mind. It jumped into the air and charged at him, its sharp claws landing on his shoulder. He felt a heart-wrenching pain, and dark red blood immediately flowed out, dyeing his red clothes red. The sweet smell of blood made the smell on his body even stronger. When the wild cats smelled this smell, they all went crazy. They gave out pitiful cries as they charged at the red-clothed young master, reaching out their sharp claws at him. The red-clothed young master desperately dodged, waving his arms and legs, but he could not avoid the fierce attacks of the wild cats at all. The clothes on his body were quickly torn to shreds by the claws of the wild cats. There were many wounds on his body as blood flowed out. Save me! Save me! The red-clothed young master screamed out. He dodged the attacks of the wild cats while using his arms to protect his eyes. He knew that the wild cats liked to use their claws to dig out a person's eyes and then swallow them in one gulp. Then they would tear apart a person's flesh. As long as he could protect his eyes, he would be able to stall for a bit longer. But even like this, his life was in danger. The Zhao Rong princess was hiding behind the secret door, so she could clearly hear what was happening outside. When she heard the pitiful cries of the cats and the heart-wrenching cries for help from the red-clothed young master, even she could not help trembling. It seems like the thousand-faced young master did not lie to me. This catnip and thorn mustard grass really are useful. Her eyes flashed with a cruel and excited glow. It was as if the person crying for help outside was not the red-clothed young master, but rather the person she hated the most, Chen Ning. She was really looking forward to seeing this scene. The scene of Chen Ning being torn to pieces by these ferocious wild cats. That moment would be very interesting, very interesting. No. She could not let the thousand-faced young master die like this. Keeping him alive, he would definitely be useful. The Zhao Rong princess mind raced. She pushed open the secret door and flew out. Her long whip flew out and with a schwa sound, it hit a wild cat. The wild cat's claws were already about to grab the red-clothed young master's eyes. The red-clothed young master was completely disheartened and closed his eyes to wait for death. But before he could feel any pain from his eyes, he heard a pitiful cat cry. The wild cat that had been whipped by the Zhao Rong princess fell to the ground with its internal organs ruptured. The rest of the wild cats did not retreat in the slightest because of the death of their companion. They pounced on the red-clothed gentleman even more ferociously. They were not willing to give up the food that was right in front of their mouths. Every one of them became crazed. The Zhao Rong princess waved her whip. Schwa! Ao woo! Ao! The screams of the wild cats came one after another. As long as a cat was whipped, it would immediately fall to the ground and die. The Zhao Rong princess was gasping for breath as she was gasping for breath. Zhao Rong Junju was also so tired that she was panting heavily. Her back was already drenched in sweat. Your Highness, thank you for saving me. The red-clothed young master had just escaped from death. His voice had become hoarse, no longer having his deep and beautiful voice. The Zhao Rong princess took a deep breath, but before she could say anything, her face suddenly changed. She could hear the pitiful cries of the cats coming from outside the window. Chapter 1504. Damn it, why is this catnip so powerful? Are there no more stray cats? Zhao Rong Region Princess waved her whip and hit a stray cat that had just jumped in through the window. However, more and more stray cats kept jumping in through the window. Countless green cat eyes flashed with the light of wolves in the darkness. Region Princess, I told you before that catnip is very powerful. Now that you have seen it with your own eyes, do you believe me? The man in red smiled bitterly. The wound on his shoulder that was scratched by the cat was still bleeding profusely. The smell of blood mixed with the smell of catnip. It would not be long before all the stray cats in the city would be attracted by the smell. But, I clearly smelled the scent of catnip on that little bee *tch and saw her drink the powder of thorn mustard grass. Why didn't I see a single cat? Zhao Rong Region Princess asked in confusion as she waved her whip to kill the cats. The red-robed gentleman also did not understand the reason. He saw that more and more cats were coming in through the window and that the whip in Zhao Rong Region Princess' hand was becoming weaker and weaker. He hurriedly said, Region Princess, now is not the time to talk about this. Let's go into the secret room and hide. You can't kill all these cats. There will only be more and more. Zhao Rong Region Princess had already felt her arm go limp and was worried. After being reminded by him, her eyes brightened. Yes, let's go into the secret room. Why didn't I think of that? She bent down to grab the red-robed gentleman's clothes. She didn't know that she would grab nothing but a piece of smooth skin. She froze. She lowered her head to look and her face immediately turned red. She quickly turned around and shouted in embarrassment and anger, You are so shameless. You are not wearing any clothes. The red-robed gentleman felt wronged and thought, how am I shameless? It was you who caused my clothes to be torn by these stray cats. You saw my body, and the one who suffered was me. But he did not dare to talk back to Zhao Rong Region Princess. He could only carefully say, yes, yes, yes. It is all my fault. I am shameless. Region Princess, grab my hair and drag me in. Zhao Rong Region Princess thought this was a good idea. She grabbed his hair and dragged him into the secret room like a dead dog. She closed the door to the secret room and blocked out all the stray cats. Outside the door, the stray cats continued to scream. Countless claws scratched at the secret door, making an ear-piercing sound. Do you think these D*MN cats will break the door? Zhao Rong Regent Princess asked anxiously as she listened to the sound of the cats scratching at the door. Let's hurry up and go to the secret chamber below. This door cannot block out the scent on my body. If the wild cats continue to scratch me, this door will not be able to stop them, the red-clothed young man said. Zhao Rong Regent Princess could not help but shiver and dragged the red-robed gentleman into the underground secret room. When the two of them entered the secret chamber and closed the iron door, it was as if they could still hear the cat meowing outside. Zhao Rong Juanju's face was pale. She felt that the most terrifying sound she had ever heard in her life was the sound of cats meowing. She had never thought that wild cats could become so crazy and frightening. But this was enough to prove one thing. The thousand-faced gentleman was sincerely helping her and did not give her fake medicine to fool her. Therefore, he still had great value. Chapter 1505. Princess, now that you have seen it with your own eyes, do you believe that I did not lie to you? The red-robed gentleman was finally out of danger. Thinking about how he had almost been cut open by the wild cats, he shuddered. However, his expression was much calmer than Zhao Rong Princess. The clothes on his body had been torn to shreds by the wild cats. His clothes did not cover his body. There were countless scratches on his body from the cats. The large amount of blood made his face even whiter. You did not lie to me. This catnip is really powerful. Zhao Rong Princess nodded her head. The danger just now was more shocking than all the dangers she had encountered in her life combined. Princess, do you have Jinshuang medicine? The red-robed gentleman tried his best to crawl up and walked shakily to the bed on the side. He pulled down half of the bed curtain and wrapped it around his body. Only then did he avoid exposing his body in front of Zhao Rong Princess. Zhao Rong Princess shook her head and said, the Jinshuang medicine is in my room up there, but that room is full of wild cats. Even if she was given 100 guts, she did not want to face that pack of hungry wolves. It was scarier than a nightmare. The red-robed gentleman saw her expression and knew she was afraid. He couldn't help but despise her in his heart, but he did not show it on his face. As long as Princess believes me, it is fine. Once I recover, I will help you think of a way to deal with the people you want to deal with. Princess, you have seen the methods of my purple cloud pavilion. Do not worry. Zhao Rong Princess rolled her eyes and extended her hand to him. Give me some catnip and bramble grass. The red-robed gentleman smiled bitterly. I do not have anything on me right now. Everything on me was destroyed by that girl named Xin in the palace. How could I have any medicinal powder? Before he finished speaking, he saw Zhao Rong Princess's expression change. He quickly said, but I personally refined the catnip and bramble grass. Once I recover, I can immediately prepare some for Princess. That is more like it. If you cannot take out what I want, don't blame me for being merciless. Zhao Rong Princess waved the whip that was covered in cat blood at him. I do not dare. Princess, I will remember your kindness in saving my life. How can 1 or 2 packets of medicinal powder be enough to repay you? Princess, I will do my best to help you deal with that girl named Xin. I will torture her until she begs for death. The red-robed gentleman's lips curled up and he smiled darkly. Zhao Rong Princess heard this and felt unspeakably comfortable. She rolled her eyes and said, Fine, you said it, I didn't force you. Now, turn yourself into a woman. I want to see what you look like after you become a woman. The young man in red was stunned. He could not believe his ears. He stammered, Princess, why do you want me to become a woman? What, you are not willing? You just said that you would do your best to help me. Do you want to go back on your word? Zhao Rongjuanju's face darkened. The red-robed young master smiled bitterly and said, I don't want to go back on my word, but I don't understand why the princess wants me to become a woman. Could it be that you want to send me to the palace? Chapter 1506. The man in red looked as if he had been struck by lightning. His entire person was stunned and his mouth was wide open. What did you say? Send me into the palace. You want me to be a eunuch? He was tongue-tied and stuttered. He felt as if a flock of crows were flying over his head. His entire person became unwell. He had a long face. If he had known that he would become a eunuch that was neither a man nor a woman, he might as well have been eaten by a stray cat. What eunuch? I want you to become a woman. Zhao Rong Region Princess rolled her eyes at him. She grabbed his hair and pulled him to the side of the table. She urged, Quick, quick. Quick what? The man in red was still confused and could not react at all. Become a woman. Zhao Rong Region Princess said impatiently. Don't tell me you can't do it. Who doesn't know that you, the Thousand Faces Prince, are the best at disguising? I want you to turn yourself into the most beautiful woman, the kind that all men can't take their eyes off of. The man in red's face was uglier than a bitter gourd. You. If you can't do it, I will throw you up there to feed the stray cats. The man in red thought of the sharp claws of the stray cats and shuddered. Okay. I will change. But I have never disguised myself as a woman before. I am afraid I won't look like one. You will look like one. Even without makeup, you are no different from a woman. Quick. I am not very patient. If you don't do it, I will feed you to the cats. The man in red had no choice but to look in the mirror and begin to disguise himself. Zhao Rong Region Princess sat to the side with her chin resting on her hand. She watched him pick up makeup and apply it layer by layer on his face. She watched with great interest. TSK, look at your delicate face. It really makes me feel sorry for you. Luckily, you protected your face and did not get scratched by the cat's claws. Otherwise, it would have ruined my plan. The man in red's hand trembled uncontrollably. He looked up at Zhao Rong Region Princess and expressionlessly said, Thank you for the compliment, Region Princess. Don't stop. Continue. Zhao Rong Region Princess smiled. The man in red was so angry he wanted to vomit blood. But he still had to follow her orders and turn himself into a beautiful woman. His original appearance was extremely enchanting and charming, so he didn't need to disguise himself too much. He just twisted his eyebrows into thin lines and drew them into the shape of distant mountain eyebrows. When he frowned slightly, it was as if he was surrounded by smoke and mist, adding some charm to his appearance. His face was pale to begin with, so he didn't need to apply any more makeup. Instead, he applied a thin layer of rouge on his cheeks, making his skin look rosy and tender. His lips were slightly smeared with rouge, making them look delicate and thin. When he looked at himself in the mirror, he almost couldn't recognize himself in it. Zhao Rong Region Princess was also stunned. She stared at the man in red who had turned into a completely different person. If she had not seen him disguise himself, she would have thought that there was another beautiful girl in the world. Especially those two eyebrows that seemed to be frowning, as well as that pair of alluring phoenix eyes. The corners of his eyes were slightly raised, and his gaze was like flowing water. He didn't even need to speak. Just a glance from the corner of his eyes was enough to make all the men in the world fall head over heels for him. Chapter 1507. Zhao Rong Princess praise came from the bottom of her heart, but it was like a whip that slapped the red-robed young master's face. He gritted his teeth and held his breath as he said, "Your Highness, are you satisfied with my disguise?" He moved his eyes away from the mirror and did not want to look at the enchanting and charming woman in the mirror. He was afraid that if he looked, he would vomit. "Satisfied, satisfied, I am very satisfied." Zhao Rong Princess smiled until her eyes were curved and she could not close her mouth. The more she looked at the beautiful face of the red-robed young master, the happier she was. "Why don't you give me a flirtatious look?" She suddenly had an idea. What? Flirtatious look. The red-robed young master suspected that there was something wrong with his ears. "Yes, you want to seduce my cousin the emperor. If you do not know how to flirtatious look, how can you move my cousin's heart? I think that little B***TCH's appearance is very normal. It's just that her eyes are like a fox spirit. My cousin must have been enchanted by her fox-like eyes. I think your eyes are even more fox-like than hers. If you flirtatious look at my cousin will definitely fall for you," Zhao Rong Junju said confidently. The red-robed young master did not know whether to laugh or cry. "But I am a man. I don't know how to flirtatious look." "What's so hard about flirtatious looks? Just do this." Zhao Rong Princess personally demonstrated and winked at the red-robed young master a few times. She asked, "Have you learned it?" The red-robed young master felt goosebumps all over his body from her flirtatious looks. He shook his head. "It's too hard. I really cannot learn it." He would rather die than make such a strange gesture like Zhao Rong Princess. "You can't learn it. Okay, I think you want to go up and feed the cat." Zhao Rong Princess rolled her eyes and laughed coldly. "Okay, I will learn. When the red-robed young master heard the word cat, the scratches on his body began to hurt. He suppressed his disgust and copied what Zhao Rong Princess had done and blinked a few times. Zhao Rong Junju was dumbfounded. The red-robed young master's eyes were already very beautiful. They were watery and pitiful. A few flirtatious glances seemed to be able to speak, seducing people's souls. "Great, too beautiful." Zhao Rong Princess could not help but clap her hands and praise, "Thousand faces young master, even though I am a woman, I was almost moved by your eyes. If my cousin the emperor saw you, he would be mesmerized to death." The red-clothed young master gritted his teeth in hatred, but he had no choice but to feign civility with Princess Zhao Rong. He lowered his eyelids and said, "Princess, does Princess Zhao Rong mean to have me fight for favor with your cousin the emperor, attract his attention, and then have him ignore that girl with the surname Qin?" Chapter 1508. The Zhao Rong Princess's hatred for Qin Ning was like a giant wave that could not be stopped. Her words filled with hatred were heard by the red-clothed young master. He also had a similar hatred for Qin Ning. Originally he was very unwilling when the Zhao Rong Princess asked him to dress up as a girl, but now his heart moved. He suddenly thought, "It said that a girl's heart is even more vicious than a man's. It seems like this is true. The Zhao Rong Princess's idea is very good. If we let that girl's surname Qin die, it would be too easy on her. She is now the high and mighty Empress, so he will pull her down from the Empress throne. Not only will she lose the honor of the Empress, she will also lose the heart of the man she loves. To a woman, this is even more terrifying than death." "Very good, Your Highness's idea is really brilliant. Let's just make a decision like this." After the red-clothed young master disguised himself as a girl, his face revealed a smile for the first time. As he gently smiled, his eyes sparkled, almost making the Zhao Rong Princess eyes pop out. The Zhao Rong Princess was worried that he would be unwilling, but when she heard this, she was filled with joy. "All right, since you're willing to help me, then we'll have a good plan." "That's right, if you dress up as a girl, although you look similar, when you open your mouth, it will be a man's voice. What should we do? How about you pretend to be a mute? Mute? This idea wasn't bad. The red-clothed young master nodded. All right, I'll pretend to be a mute and not say a single word. This way, there won't be any flaws, right? The Zhao Rong princess looked at him a few more times. Also, the way you sit isn't like a girl. The way a girl from a noble family sits is like this. Straighten your back, slightly droop your head, and put your hands on your right knee, gently pressing it down without using any force. Your legs are slanted together, and your toes are on the ground. This will make your body look more slender, she personally demonstrated, teaching the red-clothed young master everything from the way he sat to the way he acted. The red-clothed young master was very smart, immediately learning everything. He firmly remembered the Zhao Rong princess words in his heart. He followed the Zhao Rong princess steps. He had lost his internal energy and his body was weak from the blood loss, so his steps were weak. However, it made him look even more graceful and charming. Very good. Now even I can't see that the beauty in front of me is a man. The Zhao Rong princess was more satisfied the more she looked at him. Her lips curled up and her eyes sparkled. The corner of the red-robed young master's lips curled up. He turned his gaze and looked at himself in the mirror. The face in the mirror could be said to be a heavenly beauty, a beauty that could cause the downfall of cities and empires. Especially the bitterness in his eyes, even he himself was mesmerized by it. If a man could not be tempted by such a beauty, then he really could not be called a man. Oh, I forgot something important. Since I'm going to send you into the palace, you have to have a name. Young Master Thousand Faces, what is your name? Zhao Rong Junju suddenly slapped her forehead, remembering this important matter. The red-clothed young master's mouth twitched. He lightly said, "My name is not important." Does the princess plan on using my real name? Of course not. The Zhao Rong princess didn't even think before saying, "All right, if that's the case, then I'll give you a name." Chapter 1509. Lian Lian. The man in red shuddered. His entire body was covered in goosebumps. He forcefully shook himself and with a determined expression, he said, "No. That's too disgusting." Zhao Rong princess said, "I think this name sounds good. Let's call her Lian Lian." The man in red's face was so red it looked like blood was about to drip out. After holding it in for a long time, he finally said, I would rather die than comply." Zhao Rong princess glared at him and suddenly held her stomach in laughter. She did not think that this devil-like man with 1,000 faces would be defeated one day. She laughed so hard that she could not stand up straight. Okay. If you don't like this name, then it won't be Lian Lian." The man in red let out a sigh. He was afraid that Zhao Rong princess would randomly give him a name that would give him goosebumps. He hurriedly said, "My nickname is the man with 1,000 faces. Why don't I use the first character, Qian Qian? Qian Qian. That sounds good. Delicate and weak. It suits you well when you dress up as a woman. Okay, then I will call you Qian Qian from now on." The man in red silently ground his teeth. "Qian Qian." Zhao Rong princess suddenly shouted. The man in red froze for a long time before he realized that she was calling him. His face revealed an awkward expression. He huffed and said, "Is there something else, princess?" Zhao Rong princess giggled and said, "Nothing. I just want to call you so you can get used to this name." Humph. The man in red was both embarrassed and angry. He did not dare to explode and could only huff. Zhao Rong princess laughed and laughed. Then, the smile on her face slowly disappeared. She looked at the charming face of the man in red and suddenly felt her heart ache. If she looked like him, would her cousin, the emperor, like her? Would he leave the little B***tch and come to her side? Suddenly, she raised her hand and gave the man in red a heavy slap. The man in red was stunned. He covered his face and shouted, "Princess, why did you hit me? It's all because you were born with a bad face. Why did you have to be born with a pair of fox-like eyes? Why did you have to be born with a face that makes men lose their souls for you? It's all your fault, your fault." It was as if the man in red's face was not the face of the man in red, but rather Chen Ning's beautiful face. Her face twisted and her heart filled with hatred. She slapped the man in red's face again and again. The man in red had never been slapped in the face like this before. He was filled with pain and hatred as he clenched his fists. He secretly thought that he would repay this humiliation 100 times or 1,000 times in the future. His gaze landed on Zhao Rongjuanju's face, and he couldn't help but be stunned. He saw that Zhao Rongjuanju seemed to have gone crazy, but her eyes revealed an extremely miserable expression. It was clear that she was in an unspeakable pain. So the pain in her heart was 1,000 times worse than the pain on my face. This idiot princess was really pitiful. She couldn't get the man she loved, so she wanted to ruin his woman. Humph, what a useless thing. If it were this young master, as long as I fancy a girl, regardless of whether she has another man in her heart, I would directly kidnap her. How could he be like this idiot princess who was useless except for finding someone else to vent her anger on? His heart was filled with disdain towards Zhao Rongjuanju, but the slap that Zhao Rongjuanju had given him was truly painful. Chapter 15:10. Qian. The Zhao Rong princess stopped and recovered from her crazy imagination. She looked over and saw that the person in front of her was not Chen Ning, but rather the red-clothed young master who was bleeding from the corner of his mouth. She suddenly felt guilty. Qian, your face. How did it become like this? Just a moment ago, he was a peerless beauty. In just a blink of an eye, he had turned into a swollen pig head. With this appearance, how could he be sent into the palace to see his cousin? He was afraid that once his cousin saw him, he would chase him out without a second word. The red-clothed young master's cheeks were swollen and his peach blossom eyes were now swollen into slits. He used the back of his hand to wipe the blood from the corner of his mouth. In a resentful voice, he said, "Has the princess finished venting her anger? If it has, then please bring some medicine for this one. Once this one's face is less swollen, then I can enter the palace to fulfill the princess' wish. You are still willing to enter the palace to do things for me?" The Zhao Rong princess was filled with joy when she heard this. She was worried that the other side would hold a grudge from her beating and would never agree to let her enter the palace again. She never thought that the other side would not blame her. The words that I, the thousand-faced young master, say are like water that has been spilled. I will keep my word. Not to mention that the princess hates that girl's surname Qin, but I also hate her. If I can really steal the emperor's heart and make her fall out of favor, it will not only be for the princess, it will also be for myself. This is just a little bit of selfishness. I hope the princess won't mind. The red-clothed young master originally hated the Zhao Rong princess for forcing him to disguise as a woman, but the more he thought about it, the more interesting this plan became. He was a bit impatient to enter the palace. He would definitely make that girl's surname Qin restless. Thinking about it, his heart began to fill with an inexplicable excitement and he was itching to try it out. I don't mind, of course this princess doesn't mind. My master said that the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Since this princess and the thousand-faced young master have a common enemy, then we are friends, right? Of course. This one has always treated the princess as a friend, but the princess has always looked down on this one and is not willing to be friends with this one. The princess' face turned red and said, "You are the famous Purple Cloud Pavilion's thousand-faced young master. How could this princess dare be friends with you?" Her words were not sincere. The red-clothed young master was right. He was just an assassin from the Jianghu, and she was a princess with a high status. She was afraid of him, and she looked down on him from the bottom of her heart. Be friends. She did not even think about it. The thousand-faced gentleman had seen countless people. How could Zhao Rong princess's thoughts be hidden from his eyes? However, he did not expose her. Instead, he smiled and said, "Since Princess thinks highly of me, then from now on, we are friends who stand on the same line. Even if I did not accept Princess's request, I will still do my best to help Princess vent your anger." "Okay, then it's a deal." Zhao Rong princess beamed with joy. "Since the princess has already treated this one as a friend, then you should give me the antidote for the muscle softening powder, right?" the red-clothed young master said lightly. He leaned back in the chair and looked weak and weak. Chapter 15:11. The reason he didn't have any strength was because after Zhao Rong princess saved him, she gave him a kind of muscle softening powder that made him unable to use his strength. Muscle softening powder. Zhao Rong princess's face turned red again. She hesitated for a bit before saying, "I left the antidote in the room. Once the wild cats are gone, I'll take it out for you." When the informant she placed in Guan Osprey Palace rescued the red-clothed young master, he didn't know he had taken a bone-transforming pill. That was why she took advantage of the time when the red-clothed young master was unconscious to give him another dose of muscle-softening powder. This muscle-softening powder wasn't as effective as the bone-transforming pill. Its main effect was to make a person's muscles and bones feel weak and weak. This one believes that the princess is someone who keeps her word. The princess should also believe this one. This one wants to work for you, so I need some strength. Zhao Rong princess nodded. When will those wild cats leave? When she thought about how her room had become a cat's nest, her heart felt numb and her entire body felt uncomfortable. When the sun rises, they will all leave. The princess doesn't need to worry. All right, then when the sun rises, I'll go get the antidote for you. The red-clothed young master made a sound of He leaned back in his chair and lazily said, "Now that things have reached this point, I can only trouble the princess to stay here for the night. I'll cultivate here, don't disturb me." Zhao Rong princess sat down cross-legged and began to cultivate. The red-clothed young master silently looked at her for a while before looking away in disinterest. He closed his eyes and began to imagine what would happen after he entered the palace. Of course he wanted to take revenge on Chen Ning, but there was more than one way. Stealing the heart of the man she loved was just one of them. Other than that, he had prepared many new and interesting ways to play with her. The most hateful thing was that he had lost his power. If he still had his power, he wouldn't need to spend so much effort. He would directly capture that damned girl and lock her up in Purple Heaven Pavilion's dungeon. He would use all the punishments that Purple Heaven Pavilion used to punish traitors on her body. That feeling would definitely be unforgettable for the rest of her life. Chen Ning, Chen Ning. He silently repeated these two words in his heart. The corners of his lips slowly curled up, revealing a meaningful smile. "Wait for me, I'll have some fun with you very soon." At this time, Chen Ning had already returned to the palace. She had promised Mo Chuan that she would come back before the sky turned dark. But when she entered Guan Osprey Palace, she found that the person who had not returned was not her, but Mo Chuan. She knew that it must be because there were too many things piled up in this period of time. Mo Chuan should be in the royal study reading documents and adding in the matter of Chu Xiaoyang. He must be very busy, right? Xiao Ru, let's go. Follow me into the kitchen of the kitchen. Xiao Ru. What good things you want to make this time? When Xiao Ru heard the word dessert, her eyes lit up. She could clearly remember that the desserts the young miss made were all delicious things she had never tasted before. Shao shao shao, Rue, I don't, you, shao, I, of you, of, I, shao, tea. Chapter 15:12. The other dessert was walnut layer pastry. It was crispy, fragrant, sweet, and soft with a single bite. When Xiao Ru took the first bite, she almost swallowed her tongue. Young miss, this is simply too delicious, the emperor will definitely love it. She wolfed down a piece and licked her fingers, wishing she could eat more. Chen Ning giggled, don't praise me, there's still a plate left for you. Slowly eat it, but don't swallow your tongue. She placed the plate of walnut layer pastry and steamed buns into the food box and walked out. Young miss, are you going to send the dessert to the emperor? Xiao Ru's mouth was stuffed with the pastry as she spoke in a slurred voice, this servant will go with you. No need, you can stay here and slowly eat. I'll go by myself. Could it be that in this palace, you're afraid that I'll grow wings and fly away? She smiled as she walked out and headed for the royal study. Who would have thought that when she arrived at the royal study, she would find nothing? Not only did she not see Mo Chuan, Xiao Si was also not there. She asked the guards at the door of the royal study and they said that Mo Chuan had left at noon and had not returned. Strange, Mo Chuan was not in the royal study. Where did he go? Chen Ning held the food box and slowly walked towards the Guanyu Palace. The sky had already darkened at this time and the palace was already lit up. There was light in the palace as she walked alone. Although Mo Chuan was not in the palace, there were guards protecting her, so she was not worried about her safety at all. She was only thinking about Mo Chuan. Returning to the Guanyu Palace, she still did not see Mo Chuan. Xiao Ru came out to greet her. Seeing the food box in her hands, she said in a curious voice, young miss, didn't you go to send food to the emperor? Does the emperor not like it? Chen Ning shook her head and gave the food box to Xiao Ru. If this food gets cold, it won't taste good. If you can still eat it, then eat it all. Xiao Ru was filled with joy as she took the food box and said, many thanks young miss. She happily carried the food box back to her room to enjoy the dessert. Chen Ning looked at her back and her lips couldn't help curling into a smile. It was good to be this carefree like Xiao Ru. As long as there was delicious dessert to eat, she would be happy. She was not like Mo Chuan who always had so many matters to take care of and so many things to worry about. She returned to her room and picked up a book to sit under the lamp, reading while waiting for Mo Chuan to come back. In 2 days, she would follow Gu Qingzi to the Miracle Physician Valley, so she especially cherished the time she had with Mo Chuan. She hoped that she could wait until Mo Chuan came back. Even if she didn't say anything, just seeing him was enough. But things did not go as she wished. She held the book and only read a few pages before unconsciously falling asleep on the table. Bye. What she didn't notice was that the incense burner in the corner of the room was emitting a faint fragrance. Waiting until she fell asleep, Xiao Ru quietly opened the door and walked in. Seeing Chen Ning lying on the table, a gentle look flashed on her face. She took a thin blanket and covered Chen Ning with it. Then she walked over to the incense burner in the corner and extinguished the incense before quietly leaving. The incense in the incense burner was specially given to her by Mo Chuan. It had the effect of helping her sleep. Mo Chuan had already expected that Chen Ning would wait for him, so he thought of this method. Chapter 15:13. That familiar aura faintly came over and she was suddenly awakened from her dream. It was Mo Chuan. Opening his eyes, what he saw was Mo Chuan's high nose bridge and that pair of bottomless eyes. Mo Chuan, you're finally back. She muttered and asked, "What time is it now?" Mo Chuan stroked her hair and said with a faint smile, "It's almost dawn. Where did you go and why did you come back so late? You haven't slept all night, right?" Chen Ning calmed herself down and found that Mo Chuan was covered in dust, like he had run a long way. There was still the smell of night dew on his body. My body is dirty, so don't touch it. I'll come back after taking a bath." Mo Chuan pressed her down on the bed and covered her with a blanket. Then he turned around and left, entering the bathroom on the side. When he appeared in front of her again, he had already showered and was wearing a snow-white cocoon silk undergarment. His pitch-black hair was still wet, and his clean face made him look even more handsome and outstanding. Chen Ning picked up a dry towel to help him dry his hair while asking, "Did you run a long way? Where did you go?" Mo Chuan sat by the bed and looked at her. His eyes were gentle, but he couldn't hide the worry in them. He hesitated for a bit before holding her hand and calling out, "Ning, on." She stopped and silently looked at him. "I want to tell you something. After you know it, don't be surprised." "Say it." "Chu Xiaoyang. He betrayed the country." Mo Chuan grinded his teeth and finally said it. Chen Ning's body slightly trembled. It was like she had already expected this and her face did not reveal a surprised expression. "You're saying, he betrayed West Chu. But where did he go?" "I only received the news this afternoon. After he stole the map from the royal study, he didn't stop at all and left the capital city. No wonder I locked down the entire city to search for him, but I couldn't find anything. He had already planned this and left the city before the news spread. He went south and the news I received was that he had already left the West Chu border. If I'm not wrong, his destination should be south, you." Mo Chuan firmly spat out these two words. "South you." Chen Ning knit her brows. "Why would he go to South you?" "Mo Chuan, why are you so sure he went to South you?" Mo Chuan said, "About 1,000 miles south of the capital city, there is a Tsangqiong mountain. This Tsangqiong mountain is like its name, it is as majestic as the sky, as if it fell from the sky. The mountain is steep and the peak is very high. It is said that even eagles can't fly over it. This mountain covers an area of more than 1,000 miles. Behind Tsangqiong mountain is not the border of my West Chu, but rather a vast and boundless forest. After passing through that forest is the country of South Yu, so this road can be said to be the closest route from West Chu to South Yu." Chapter 15-14. Mo Chuan patted the back of her hand and said with a faint smile, "You don't need to worry about this. Although our West Chu is only 3,000 miles away from South Yu, it is impossible for them to attack West Chu from this road. You haven't been to Tsangqiong Mountain before, so you don't know what that mountain is like. It is like a natural barrier that separates West Chu and South Yu. Not to mention the vast forest that no one can pass, just this Tsangqiong Mountain alone, if one's Qinggong hasn't reached the peak, they will never be able to climb over it. No matter how strong the South Yu army is, it is impossible for them to train a team that can climb over Tsangqiong Mountain." "That's good, it seems like I was thinking too much. That's why when you heard that Chu Xiaoyang was heading south, you determined that he was going to South Yu." Mo Chuan nodded and said, "I dare say that with Chu Xiaoyang's skills, it shouldn't be hard for him to jump over Tsangqiong Mountain. After I received the news, I chased him all the way to the foot of the mountain, but I completely lost track of him. So he must have gone over the mountain. After going over Tsangqiong Mountain and that forest, he would be in the South Yu country. He must have planned this route a long time ago. I can even say that he has been planning this since the day I locked him up in the heavenly prison. He now has the quintuple crossbow blueprints, so no matter which country he goes to, East Qin or South Yu, he will be treated as a guest. Hey, it seems like I have to congratulate him, his future is limitless. Although he was smiling, his voice was filled with resentment. Chen Ning understood that what made him angry was not that Chu Xiaoyang stole the blueprints, but rather that Chu Xiaoyang would betray his country for glory. She finally understood where Mo Chuan had gone and where he was covered in dust. He must have been riding a horse for half a day and night, not even having the time to close his eyes. Looking at Mo Chuan's haggard face, she said in a soft voice, "Mo Chuan, you don't need to worry about it too much. It's a good thing you were on guard and he only stole the 5 crossbow blueprints. You already know how to make 20 crossbows, so you don't need to worry about that blueprint. You don't understand. Although the 5 crossbow cannot compare to the 20 crossbow, if it falls into the hands of the South Yu country, it will greatly increase their military strength. If their army attacks us in the future, it will cause heavy casualties to our West Chu soldiers." Mo Chuan knit his brows and revealed a deep look of worry. Chen Ning knew that he cherished the lives of the soldiers, so she said, "I've already asked my master. He can understand the snow silk clothes and knows where to find the cold silkworms. You can be assured, I will definitely weave the snow silk cloth before the South Yu nation makes the 5 linked crossbows." Mo Chuan held her hand and looked at her as he said, "Ning, you're always so thoughtful for me, but I'm worried about something else. If Chu Xiaoyang really goes to the South Yu country, I'm afraid there will be a war in front of us." "What do you mean? Could it be that the South Yu country will immediately send their troops? Won't they wait until the 5 linked crossbows are made? Won't they have a higher chance of winning like this?" Chen Ning asked in a surprised voice. Although she was smart, she didn't know anything about arranging troops or fighting a war. Mo Chuan shook his head and said, "They don't need to wait until the 5 linked crossbows are made to have a chance of winning." Chapter 15:15. "That's right, it's Chu Xiaoyang." Mo Chuan said word for word. His deep black eyes looked right at her. "When you were in his palace, did you ever enter the little building in the Peach Blossom Cove?" Chen Ning thought about it and said, "I've been there twice. The peach blossoms there are very beautiful, but I've never entered the bamboo building. I've heard that it's Chu Xiaoyang's forbidden area and no one is allowed to enter. Could there be some secret mechanism hidden in the bamboo building?" Mo Chuan shook his head and said, "There isn't any secret mechanism. If you've entered the bamboo building, you'll know that there are various weapons he's collected over the years and countless military books. Chu Xiaoyang likes to read military books the most, so he often arranges troops in the bamboo house and practices arrays. You probably don't know about this, right?" Chen Ning shook her head in a daze and said, "I don't know." She indeed didn't know. When she lived in the Duke Ning Palace, she never cared about Chu Xiaoyang. She didn't know what he liked or what he hated. Oh, the only thing she knew at the time was that the person he hated was her and the person he liked was Qin Baiyun. The past suddenly filled her mind and she realized that Chu Xiaoyang was actually a stranger to her. She had never understood him for a single day. In the depths of her memories, there was only Mo Chuan and not a single trace of Chu Xiaoyang. Chu Xiaoyang is proficient in the art of war. Ever since the previous emperor, who is his royal father, was taken hostage by the East Qin country, he began to study the art of war. He had a wish in his heart and that was to one day lead the West Chu army to break through the East Qin capital and save his royal father. In these 10 years, he has been studying day and night and practicing martial arts, but he has never had this kind of opportunity. Thinking about how my West Chu has always been suppressed by East Qin and the yearly tribute has consumed most of the country's resources, we don't have the ability to train soldiers at all. The only thing I can do is give this country and the citizens a few more years of peace. I know that Chu Xiaoyang is ambitious, so I have been suppressing him, not giving him a chance to lead troops, but that doesn't mean I don't know how strong he is. He is a sharp treasured sword and I want him to learn how to hide his strength. One day, I will definitely fulfill his wish." But I never would have thought that he wouldn't wait for that day. Once he joins the South Yu country, the first thing he will do is personally lead troops to attack my West Chu. Mo Chuan gritted his teeth and said this word at a time. No, Mo Chuan, Chu Xiaoyang won't do that. Chen Ning instinctively shook her head. Chu Xiaoyang was arrogant, unruly, ruthless, and cruel. Although he wasn't considered a good person, she knew that Chu Xiaoyang had a bottom line in his heart. West Chu was his country and he wouldn't betray his country just because Mo Chuan wronged him. Then he would lead the enemy's army to attack his own country. That was impossible. He won't. How about we wait and see? Mo Chuan curled his lips and revealed a sarcastic smile. Chen Ning looked at him in a daze, still not daring to believe this news. Before long, you'll know the answer. Mo Chuan said. Chapter 15-16. Mo Chuan looked up at the sky outside. He stood up and began to put on his court clothes. Are you going to court? She also sat up and helped him put on his clothes, fixing his sleeves. Although her heart ached that he hadn't slept all night, she knew that he was worried about the country, so he didn't have time to rest. He nodded. If Chu Xiaoyang really defected to South Yu like I expected, then in less than 10 days, South Yu will invade my West Chu. I need to make preparations early, otherwise we won't be caught off guard. Chen Ning bit her lips. Does the Empress Dowager know of this matter? I've already given the order. I don't want to tell Mother about this matter for now, otherwise she'll be worried. If she knows of this matter, I'm afraid it will cause another storm. Mo Chuan stroked her hair and said in a low voice, you should sleep a bit more. I'll have people guard outside the palace and won't let anyone disturb your rest. She gave a slight nod and sent Mo Chuan away. When she returned to her room, thinking of Mo Chuan's words, how could she still sleep? Xiao Ru, Xiao Ru. She called out twice. Xiao Ru came in from outside with an excited smile on her face. Young miss, what did you call this servant for? She revealed a smile that revealed her snow-white teeth. Even if Chen Ning was filled with worries, seeing Xiao Ru's bright smile, she couldn't help smiling back at her. What are you busy with? What's making you this happy? Xiao Ru said with a smile, I'm helping the young miss organize things. The Emperor said that the young miss will be going with the divine Dr. Gu to the godly Dr. Valley to study medicine tomorrow and won't be coming back for a year, so I have to prepare a lot of things. That's right, the Emperor just sent people over to bring a lot of food and clothing, all piled up in the yard. When the young miss wakes up, you can go take a look and bring whatever you like. Since the young miss is awake, let's go take a look. There are so many things, this servant's eyes are going blurry. I think this is good, that is good, but we can't bring all these things. Chen Ning was stunned. She looked up at her, You want to go to the godly Dr. Valley with me? That's right, the Emperor said that I have to stay by the young miss side to take care of you. The Emperor also said that if I don't take good care of you and you become thin or sick, he will fiercely lecture me when we return to the palace. Young miss, the Emperor is really caring and caring for you, he is really good. Mo Chuan. Chen Ning couldn't help feeling a warm feeling fill her heart. There were many complicated matters in the court and adding in Chu Xiaoyang's matter, he was so busy that he didn't even have time to sleep. But in his heart, he was still thinking about her matter. He had thought of everything for her and prepared so many things for her. Mo Chuan, Mo Chuan, can't wait to send me away. Mo Chuan. Was it because West Chu was facing a crisis and wouldn't be peaceful soon? Chaste, Mo Chuan, Mo I, to Mo I, Mo, U, I said, I will, you, you. But you're always thinking of me. Could it be that in your heart, you're really willing to let me leave? She abruptly stood up and walked out. Chapter 15-17. Chen Ning left the Guanyu Palace without looking back, heading straight for the royal study. Greetings to the Empress. When the guards outside the royal study saw her, they all bowed down. The Emperor isn't here yet. She saw that the door to the royal study was open and there was no one inside. Reporting to the Empress, the Emperor hasn't left court yet. And then this consort will go in and wait for the Emperor to leave court. Chen Ning walked in and arrived in front of the imperial desk. She saw a neat row of memorials on the right. She opened one and saw a few lines of small words written in red, which was Mo Chuan's handwriting. She put down the memorial and opened another one, finding that it was also written by Mo Chuan. There were at least 50-60 memorials on the table and just reading them would take a lot of time. Adding in the annotations, it was unknown how much time and effort Mo Chuan had spent on this desk. No wonder he would only return to the palace late at night. No wonder every time she saw him, his eyes were filled with a faint fatigue. Although he hid it very well, it could not escape her eyes. Seeing the memorials on the table, she felt her heart ache for him. There was still Chu Xiaobai who could help him with his problems before, but now Chu Xiaobai had left, Chu Xiaoyang had betrayed the country, and she was leaving tomorrow. After she left, this country's matters would all fall on his shoulders. There was no one to share it with and he had no one to talk to. Her eyes unknowingly became wet and her vision became blurry. It was as if she could see his lonely figure sitting in front of the desk reading memorials, with only a single lamp accompanying him. If it was really as Mo Chuan expected and Chu Xiaoyang surrendered to South Yu would attack West Chu. Then West Chu would face an unprecedented crisis. There were wolves in front and tigers in the back. Once South Yu attacked, would East Qin take this chance to join forces with South Yu and divide West Chu among themselves? She did not know any of this. In this kind of dangerous situation, how could the West Chu Empress beside her stay out of this and hide in the Miracle Physician Valley to live a peaceful life? She could not do it. When she was married to Mo Chuan, she had made a vow that no matter what difficulties there were, she would bear it with him. Chen Ning suddenly made her decision. She did not wait for Mo Chuan to leave court and walked out of the royal palace, heading straight for Dr. Zhang's palace. Before the sedan chair she was in arrived in front of Dr. Zhang's palace, she suddenly heard a clamor in front of her as the sedan bearer stopped the sedan chair. Reporting to Master, there are many commoners blocking the way, so our sedan chair can't pass. The sedan chair bearer reported in a low voice. Did something happen? Go and ask around. Chen Ning lifted the curtain and looked outside. She found that the road in front of her was filled with commoners. Everyone was standing on their tiptoes, like they were watching something. After a while, the sedan chair bearer came. Master, this servant has asked around. It is Xiao Rong Princess who is blocking Dr. Zhang's palace door, saying that she wants to compete with Dr. Gu. Dr. Gu did not show himself and Xiao Rong Princess is blocking the door, not letting Dr. Zhang's people in. Now the citizens are blocking the entire alley, so our sedan can't pass no matter what. Xiao Rong Princess wants to compete with my teacher. Chapter 15-18. It's not a medical competition, I've heard it's a competition of martial arts. Competing in martial arts. Chen Ning's eyes instantly popped out. She opened the curtain and walked out. Wait here, I'll go take a look. This Xiao Rong Princess was really too arrogant. She was actually finding someone who didn't know martial arts to compete in martial arts. If this wasn't bullying others too much, then what was it? She could not let her master suffer this kind of loss. Master, you can't do this. There are many people here and we don't have enough people. I'm afraid we won't be able to protect Master's safety. You can be assured, nothing will happen to me. Chen Ning squeezed into the crowd in a few steps and disappeared in the blink of an eye. The four bearers quickly followed, but there were too many people watching. They squeezed through the crowd, but they couldn't find Chen Ning. They were so anxious that they began to sweat. Although Chen Ning didn't know martial arts, she had practiced self-defense. Her body was strong and she was wearing the snow silk clothes, so she moved through the crowd. She was very agile and quickly arrived in the middle of the crowd. She squeezed to the front and immediately saw the Zhao Rong princess. The Zhao Rong princess was leading a group of guards, proudly standing in front of Dr. Zhang's door. She was commanding the guards to guard the door. Keep a close eye on me. Don't even let a fly in, let alone let it out. If Gu Qingzi still refuses to come out and compete with me, then no one in this room will be able to leave. Come out one, kill one. Come out two, kill a pair. Yes, princess. The guards loudly shouted as they held the blades on their waists. Like wolves and tigers, they chased away the people watching by Dr. Zhang's door, creating a large space. Dr. Zhang rushed over after hearing the news. Seeing this scene, he was so angry that his white beard was raised. Presumptuous, this is too presumptuous. He walked forward with large steps. Stop. If you take another step forward, the princess has orders to kill without mercy. The guards raised their blades and blocked Dr. Zhang's path. Don't worry, I'll kill you. Dr. Zhang's body trembled with anger as he said to the Zhao Rong princess, Princess, you've brought people to this old man's palace. Is this an order from the emperor? How could the Zhao Rong princess put a doctor in her eyes? She arrogantly said, this princess has orders from my father, Duke Ning, to come and compete with that surnamed Gu. If he wins, my father will betroth this princess to him, but if he loses, he will immediately scram out of the capital and never take a step into the capital again. What? What did you say? Dr. Zhang's eyes popped open in shock, almost not daring to believe his ears. You're old and deaf, can't you hear clearly? Fine, I'll repeat it for you. Hurry up and ask Gu Shijiu to come out and have a duel with me. If he wins, he can marry me. If he loses, he has to get lost. Zhao Rong princess placed her hands on her hips and arrogantly said. Dr. Zhang had seen many ridiculous things in his life, but he felt that there was nothing more ridiculous than what Zhao Rong region princess had said. The divine Dr. Gu was a godlike person. How could this unruly and unreasonable Zhao Rong princess be worthy of him? She wanted to compete with the divine Dr. Gu in martial arts, but how could the divine Dr. Gu know martial arts? She had clearly made a fool of herself in the palace that day and her dream of marrying the emperor was shattered, so she had ideas on the divine Dr. Gu. She wanted to marry the divine Dr. Gu. Chapter 1519. Princess, the divine Dr. Gu doesn't know martial arts. Even if you don't know, the Duke should know. Why would he give this order? Do you have the Duke's order? Dr. Zhang gave an angry smile as he coldly said. How presumptuous. Could it be you don't believe this princess' words? Do you think this princess will like that country bumpkin? Is he worthy of marrying this princess? I came here today to teach him a lesson and make him lose convincingly. If he loses, he will scram out of the capital city for this princess. Zhao Rong's princess fiercely shouted. Her fierce shout made Dr. Zhang's heart filled with joy. He thought that this would be easy to deal with. So this unruly princess didn't want to marry him, then he would go report to the divine Dr. Gu and make him lose this match. This way, the princess wouldn't be entangled at the door. Since the divine Dr. Gu was prepared to leave the capital city, he could make peace with this matter. He made up his mind and said, "Since it's like this, I ask the princess to wait a bit. This old man will go report to the divine Dr. Gu. Quickly, quickly. Tell that country bumpkin surnamed Gu that this princess will wait for him here. If he doesn't come out, he can forget about ever taking a single step out of this door." Dr. Zhang gave a snort in his heart. He turned back into the palace and went to find Gu Qingze. Zhao Rong's princess took out the whip from her waist and gently slapped it in her hand. The corner of her eyes narrowed as she coldly looked at the surrounding citizens. Humph, what's so special about that surnamed Gu? Her father wanted to marry her to him. She wanted to make him lose a large amount of face in front of all the citizens and make him scram out of the capital city. She also wanted to shut her father's mouth, so her father would have to think of a way to marry her royal cousin. Her heart was filled with wishful thinking and her lips couldn't help revealing a smile. This was because she didn't put Gu Qingze in her eyes at all. He was just a cripple that didn't know martial arts. Why would she be afraid of him? You. Little slut. Why are you here? Suddenly, her smile disappeared and her expression changed. She stared at a person in the crowd and almost cried out in surprise. The person she was looking at was not anyone else, it was Chen Ning. Chen Ning revealed a faint smile at her and walked forward. Has the princess recovered from her illness? This awe-inspiring manner, is she really putting on airs as a princess? Zhao Rong's princess never would have dreamed that she would see Chen Ning here, so her expression kept changing. She was filled with hate and fear towards Chen Ning. She hated her to the bone, but she was afraid that Chen Ning would reveal the shameful things she had done in the palace. If that happened, she would be too ashamed to show her face. Seeing her expression, Chen Ning could guess what was on her mind. With a faint smile, she said, "You don't need to worry too much. I came here to visit my master, but I never thought that I would bump into this kind of matter. What, does the princess like my master? Are you preparing a martial competition to find a husband? Since I'm here, I'll definitely take a look." Zhao Rong Region Princess was stunned. What did she mean? Wasn't she stand on her master's side? Could it be that she wanted him to ruthlessly teach her master a lesson? She found that she couldn't understand Chen Ning's words at all. Chen Ning looked like she was watching from the side as she giggled and said, "Princess, you just said that if my master beats you, you will marry my master. Is that true?" Chapter 15-20. Chen Ning smiled and said, "Very good." Did everyone hear the princess' words clearly? She raised her voice and asked the crowd. Everyone heard it clearly. We heard it clearly. Some of the busybodies who were watching the show responded loudly. The princess' face turned red and her heart was filled with hatred. She loudly said, "Humph, what do you mean by saying this? Do you think this princess will lose? If I win, your master will have to pack up and get lost. Whether you win or lose, we'll only know after the competition. It's not something that can be decided just by your words, Your Highness." Chen Ning smiled until her teeth could not be seen. Her heart had completely fallen into her stomach. This Zhao Rong princess who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth wanted to compete with her master. Very good, then she'll let her master see his skills. As for if Gu Qingze won, did she think she could marry him just because she wanted to? Chen Ning was not worried at all. She just wanted to watch the show. You. The princess was choked by Chen Ning until she couldn't speak. She knew that she couldn't beat Chen Ning with words, so she hatefully said, "You have a sharp tongue, what's the use of just talking? If you have the skills, then call your master out to compete with me. We'll see who's stronger." "Alright, then I'll go in and ask my master to come out and compete with you. If my master wins, then I'll have a princess as my master's wife." Chen Ning smiled as she walked through the door. The princess was so angry that she almost spat out blood. Her face turned red and green. She felt like every word Chen Ning said was like a whip, slapping her face in pain. The surrounding people watching the show also began to laugh in low voices. Needless to say, they were laughing at her. Laughing at a princess like her, running to someone else's house to compete for a spouse. This was no different from a street performer. Her face was burning from embarrassment, but she was already like an arrow on the bow. She could not leave, she had to wait for Gu Qingze to appear. If anyone dares to laugh again, this princess will cut off their dog head. The Princess Apricot eyes stared at the crowd as she shouted at the crowd. The surrounding people turned cold and instantly became silent. No one dared to make a single sound. The princess gave a satisfied snort. At least these people knew what was good for them. If they dared to go against her, she would definitely make them suffer. Chen Ning hadn't taken a few steps when she saw Dr. Zhang personally pushing Gu Qingze's chair over, slowly walking over. Master! She came forward with a smile. Gu Qingze had an expressionless face as he looked over. He did not miss the smile on her face. He snappily said, "What are you doing here, girl?" Chen Ning blinked her eyes with a smile. "I came to visit Master, but I never thought that I would come across such a good show." Is Master going to compete with Zhao Rong Princess? Humph. You wish for the world to be in chaos. You want to see your master make a fool of himself, don't you? Gu Qingze said with a straight face. Master, do you? Master, you. But master, tell me, do you want to lose or win this match? So what if I lose? So what if I win? Chapter 1521. How could Gu Qingze not know this? But hearing her say it again, he was filled with anger. He hatefully said, "That madwoman. Master, I heard that this was Duke Ning's idea. Yesterday, when Master went to his palace for a banquet, what did you do? How did you enter Duke Ning's eyes and make him recognize you as his son-in-law? Could it be that Master cured his strange illness?" Chen Ning's eyes turned and her face was filled with curiosity. Gu Qingze was filled with hatred. He really hated himself for being soft. He never thought that Duke Ning and the Zhao Rong princess would use this move and pester him endlessly. Disciple, push your master out. Doesn't she want to compete with your master in martial arts? Then your master will compete with her. He coldly said. Chen Ning stuck out her tongue and said with a smile, "Is master planning on losing to her on purpose? You think your master will lose?" Gu Qingze looked at her. If it was a proper competition, master wouldn't lose and would beat her until her teeth fell out. But if master wins, you'll have to marry her. Could it be that master likes her? She said in a meaningful tone. Gu Qingze gave a "peh" sound. If you keep talking nonsense, your master will punish you by copying the medical scriptures 300 times. He did not wait for Chen Ning to help him push the wheelchair as he quickly turned it and quickly appeared in front of the palace gates. Outside the gates, the Zhao Rong princess was currently cracking the whip in her hand. She had a look of arrogance on her face. From the corner of her eyes, she saw Gu Qingze and revealed a look of disdain. "Country bumpkin surnamed Gu, you've finally come out." Gu Qingze expressionlessly looked at her and coldly said, "How do you want to compete?" The Zhao Rong princess looked at Chen Ning who was standing behind him and slapped the whip in her hand. "Your disciple must have already told you the rules of the competition. As for the method of the competition, it's very simple. We'll have a fair and square competition and see who wins and who loses." "All right." Gu Qingze only said a single word before closing his mouth. The surrounding citizens saw Gu Qingze sitting in the wheelchair and couldn't help whispering to each other. Wow, Her Royal Highness has taken a fancy to a cripple. Isn't this clearly bullying people? Who doesn't know how strong the princess martial arts is? She actually wants to compete with a cripple. That's right. Even if she wins, it would be an unfair victory. That's not certain. I think the princess will lose on purpose. If she loses, she can marry that young man. What is the reason? Why does Her Highness want to marry this unassuming cripple? This is a long story. Shoo, now is not the time to talk about this. Let's watch the show first. Although the crowd had lowered their voices, Zhaorong Region Princess could still hear some of the discussion. She was so angry that her face turned ashen. Her heart was filled with waves of guilt. She thought to herself, could it be that the scandal she made in the palace that day had already spread throughout the capital? In the end, it was all that this country bumpkin Goo's fault. If it wasn't for him giving her such a bad idea, she wouldn't have made a fool of herself in front of everyone. Her heart was filled with extreme hatred towards Gu Qingze and Chen Ning. Especially when she thought that as long as she won against Gu Qingze, the other side would obediently scram. She had driven away the little slut's master, which was equal to slapping the little slut's face. Her heart was filled with joy. Chapter 1522. The Zhaorong princess raised her voice, letting the surrounding people hear her clearly. Gu Qingze was too lazy to even look at her this time. He directly said to Chen Ning, "Disciple, count." Chen Ning looked at the Zhaorong princess. Her eyes fell onto the whip in her hand and she revealed a faint smile. On the surface, the Zhaorong princess spoke very generously and it seemed like the competition was very fair, but she was actually playing a trick. She deliberately stood 10 steps away from Gu Qingze and used a long whip as her weapon, while Gu Qingze was sitting on a chair. Once the competition began, she could use the whip to attack first. It was just that even though her calculations were brilliant, she was probably going to suffer a huge loss when she encountered Gu Qingze. Chen Ning did not explain and just nodded with a smile. Everyone held their breaths and opened their eyes wide. There were some people who couldn't help shaking their heads and sighing. They didn't want to watch this competition that they already knew the result before it even began. Everyone already thought that the Zhaorong princess would definitely win, there was no need to even think about it. Dr. Zhang saw the way the Zhaorong princess was waving her whip and his heart turned cold. He was secretly worried for Gu Qingze. He took a step forward and whispered into Gu Qingze's ear, "Divine Dr. Gu, this old man has heard that the Zhaorong princess has left the capital city for 3 years to learn martial arts. Since she dares to come here, her martial arts must be pretty good. Although your medical skills are high, if you compete in martial arts, I'm afraid you won't be a match for this princess. How about you just admit defeat? Since you are leaving the capital city tomorrow, you can give this princess a way out and send her away as soon as possible." Gu Qingze softly said, "You also think I will lose?" Dr. Zhang was tongue-tied, not knowing what to say. He thought in his heart, "I'm not the only one here who thinks this, almost everyone else thinks this. Divine Dr. Gu, she is only a girl. If you win against her, it won't be anything glorious, but if you lose, it won't look good on your face. How about we not compete and just directly admit defeat? If you can't put down your face, this old man will explain to her that you are the #1 divine doctor, not the #1 expert. If the princess is not convinced, you can compare your medical skills with her. How about this?" Dr. Zhang said with a face of worry. He saw the killing intent on the Zhaorong princess' face. He was afraid that she would not hold back. If she injured the divine doctor, it wouldn't be good. Before Gu Qingze had time to speak, Zhaorong Junzhu had already raised her voice. With an impatient expression, she yelled, "Are you guys done dawdling? If you have anything to say, wait until the competition is over before you say it." This Junju is already impatient. Surnamed Gu, are you blabbering your last words? Don't worry, for the sake of the bottle of medicine you gave me yesterday, I won't take your life. If you lose, pack up your things and get out of the capital city. I won't make things difficult for you anymore. Princess, what if you lose? Chen Ning also raised her voice and said in a clear voice. Zhao Rong Regent Princess raised her chin and proudly said, I will not lose. Just wait and see your master beg for mercy after being beaten by me. Chen Ning smiled and said, I think the one begging for mercy is not my master, but rather the princess consort. If you lose, you'll have to keep your promise and marry my master. Chen Ning smiled and said, I think the one begging for mercy is not my master, but rather the princess. If you lose, you will have to keep your promise and marry my master. Chapter 1523. Chen Ning saw that Gu Qingze had used his true qi, so she did not dare joke around. She took a step back and said in a clear voice, 1, 2, 3. Just as the word 3 came out, the long whip in Zhao Rong Juanju's hand immediately lashed out. She had been waiting for this moment. She channeled all the power in her body into her right arm. This whip was full of power. It danced in the air like a spirit snake, flying towards Gu Qingze's face. She wanted to show off her might in front of everyone, so this whip was merciless. It was not like she said she would be merciful. She was afraid that she didn't have enough strength, so she wanted to kill Gu Qingze on the spot. If this whip landed solidly, Gu Qingze's head would definitely be whipped until it split open. Everyone let out a surprised cry and some people covered their faces, not bearing to watch. Divine Dr. Gu, quickly admit defeat. Dr. Zhang's heart was about to jump out of his chest as he shouted out in a hoarse voice. He saw that the snake-like whip was about to reach Gu Qingze's face, but Gu Qingze was sitting in the chair without moving, like he was scared stiff. He closed his eyes in fear, not daring to watch. When the Zhao Rong princess saw that she had succeeded, she couldn't help revealing a proud and fierce smile. She shouted, Country bumpkin, go die. Gu Qingze's expression did not change and his eyes did not even blink. He waited until the whip was about to touch his face before his right hand on the armrest gently pressed down. Everyone felt their eyes blur and suddenly saw 3 long black ropes fly out from who knew where. One of them wrapped around the Zhao Rong princess whip with a kishua sound and the other 2 black ropes were like 2 dragons dancing in the air, attacking the Zhao Rong princess. The Zhao Rong princess was shocked. She quickly waved her right arm, wanting to use the whip to block it, but who would have thought that she would not be able to move it? Her hand suddenly became empty and the whip was taken away by the black rope. She wanted to dodge, but it was too late. With a shwa sound, the 2 black ropes hit her left and right knees. Then they were pulled back into the chair. The Zhao Rong princess felt a sharp pain in her knees. Her knees went soft and she fell to the ground with a putong sound. Gu Qingze coldly said, the princess is bowing to this one in front of everyone. Are you begging for mercy? This exchange was very fast and it was very fast. In the blink of an eye, the crowd saw Princess Zhao Rong kneel in front of the young man sitting in the wheelchair, looking completely disgraced. The young man did not move at all from beginning to end. He did not even raise his pinky, but the Zhao Rong princess was already kneeling. People couldn't help but look at each other in dismay, suspecting that the scene before them was an illusion. Many people began to rub their eyes desperately. Are my eyes playing tricks on me? Why do I see the princess kneeling? Your eyes right, the princess is kneeling. Ah, that's impossible. I didn't see it, how this young man made a move. It's precisely because I didn't see it that he's an expert. Everyone began to discuss spiritedly. They all looked at Gu Qingze with a kind of worship in their eyes. Look at him, he didn't even move his hands or his feet, yet he was able to make the princess kneel in front of him in an instant. This kind of martial arts was simply unheard of. Chapter 1524. You're using a demonic technique. You're not a human, you're a monster. The Zhao Rong princess calmed herself down and looked up. She stared at Gu Qingze and found that he was sitting in his chair with empty hands. But where were the 3 black ropes? Why did they suddenly appear and suddenly disappear? That's right, this was not a martial art, it had to be a demonic technique. She wanted to stand up, but as soon as she moved, she felt a sharp pain in her knees. She could not stand at all. Demonic technique. Gu Qingze gave a cold laugh. So what if it's a demonic technique? Princess, you've lost. I. The Zhao Rong princess forcefully bit her lips, almost to the point of drawing blood. But in front of all these commoners, as well as the guards of her palace, everyone saw that she had been defeated in a single move. Not only had she had lost completely. Even if she wanted to deny it, she couldn't. Are you all dead people? Why aren't you helping this princess up? She was filled with shame and hatred as she shouted at the guards around her. The guards quickly rushed forward and helped the Zhao Rong princess up from the ground. Surnamed Gu, you're very good. This princess will remember you. This princess will definitely get it back from you. The Zhao Rong princess was filled with rage. She threw down these ruthless words and prepared to leave. Who would have thought that even though she wanted to leave, Chen Ning would not let her go like this? Hey, princess, wait a minute. Why are you in such a rush to leave? I still have things to say. What else do you have to say? The Zhao Rong princess angrily turned around. Chen Ning giggled and said, the princess' words are like water that has been spilled, everyone should remember it. What did the princess say before the match? If the princess has forgotten, I should remind you. You said that if you lost, you would marry him. What's wrong? The princess has lost, but you want to leave without saying a single word. Could it be that you want to break off the marriage? The Zhao Rong princess' face turned red and white. She stared at Chen Ning, but she could not say anything. She thought that what she was afraid of had come true. This little cheap woman had caught her words. What should she do? Even if she died, she would not marry that country bumpkin. This is a matter between this princess and your master, do you need to care about it? She angrily said. My master's matters are also my matters. As a disciple, I naturally have to care about my master's life. Don't you all agree? Chen Ning raised her voice as she asked this question. Yes, that's reasonable. Of course. It is only right and proper for a disciple to care for his master. Everyone agreed with Chen Ning. When the Zhao Rong princess heard this, she almost spat out a mouthful of blood. She just wanted to get rid of this marriage that she didn't want as soon as possible. Without thinking, she blurted out, even if I'm willing to marry him, he won't marry me. Yesterday, my father personally proposed to him, but he rejected. If you don't believe me, you can ask him if there's such a thing. As soon as she finished speaking, the crowd immediately gasped. Everyone had an incredulous expression on their faces. Duke Ning actually wants to betroth the princess to a commoner. Duke, are you? He even rejected the princess's marriage proposal. Ah, I understand. It must be because of the strange disease the princess has, that's why he doesn't want to marry her. What if she gets infected? Chapter 1525. The people watching all moved back, avoiding Zhao Rong princess like she was the plague. Instantly, there was a large empty space in the middle of the crowd. Even the guards supporting Zhao Rongjunju were trembling in fear. Their expressions kept changing. As the saying goes, good news does not leave the house, but bad news travels 1,000 miles. Although the matter of Zhao Rong princess making a fool of herself in the palace had only happened 2 days ago, it was like this matter had grown wings as it spread through the streets of the capital city. It became the topic of jokes and gossip among the nobles and citizens. The Duke Ning Palace's guards also heard about it. The 2 guards who were supporting Zhao Rongjunju were startled and immediately loosened their grip. Zhao Rong princess could not stand still and once again kneeled down with a putong sound. She was filled with anger and hate. Before she could even open her mouth to scold her, Chen Ning made a zeethed sound. Why is the princess kneeling down to my master again? Ah, I understand. You're afraid that my master will reject you again, so you're begging my master, right? Master, look at how pitiful this princess is. This dignified princess actually kneels down to you twice and even kneels down to beg you to marry her. Otherwise, why don't you agree? Otherwise, your highness will lose face. These words that added oil to the fire almost made Zhao Rong princess explode with anger. She couldn't help scolding, bullshit, bullshit. This princess would rather marry a pig or a dog than marry this country bumpkin. She stared at Chen Ning and the hatred in her heart reached its peak. All kinds of filthy words came out of her mouth. She scolded whatever she wanted and whatever she wanted to hear. Chen Ning was not angry at all. She just smiled as she looked at her scolding. Duke Ning's guards couldn't help lowering their heads, feeling ashamed. Zhao Rong princess's curses were something that even they were too embarrassed to listen to. The commoners all had a look of disbelief on their faces before revealing looks of disdain. Some people couldn't help shaking their heads and saying, I never thought that a dignified princess would be like a shrew when she scolds people. Hey, what princess, she's just a shrew. If we listen to this kind of filthy words, it will dirty our ears. Having a girl like this, she's really losing face for Duke Ning. Zhao Rongjunju abruptly shut her mouth. She covered her mouth and her eyes widened. Only now did she realize what she had just said. She had not cared about her status as a Junju at all. She had actually cursed like a shrew in front of so many people. This was simply too shameful. Not only did she lose face for herself, she also lost face for the Duke Ning Palace. It's over. If her father knew this, he would definitely teach her a fierce lesson. Princess, why don't you keep scolding? Why aren't scolding not? You scold me so nicely, but I haven't heard enough yet. Chen Ning gave a regretful sigh. Zhao Rong princess pointed at Zhao Qin's eyes. The Zhao Rong princess pointed at Chen Ning and swallowed back the word, cheap person, that was about to come out of her mouth. Ning. She couldn't fall for the other party's provocation. She had already embarrassed herself enough today. She absolutely couldn't become a laughing stock anymore. She did not dare look up at the people around her. She gritted her teeth as she stood up from the ground and shouted, Why aren't you bringing the sedan back to this princess palace? What are you all standing here for? The guards finally came back to their senses and quickly went to bring the sedan. Who would have thought that at this time, there would suddenly be a scream coming from the people in the city? Ants! Where did all these ants come from? Chapter 1526. Ah! Cockroaches, these are cockroaches. Heavens, there are thousands of cockroaches. Are they crazy? Waves of screams came from the crowd. The people were so scared that they scattered in all directions. All they saw was a black mass of insects on the ground. They were like a tide that surged towards Zhao Rongjunju. These insects were in groups and were densely packed together. At first glance, there were ants, spiders, cockroaches, and some insects that the people could not even recognize. But when they saw them, they felt their bodies go numb and had goosebumps. Protect the princess. Protect the princess. Save me, save me. Zhao Rongjunju was so scared that her face was pale. Her legs were as soft as noodles and she could not stand steadily. If it weren't for the guards supporting her, she would have already collapsed into a bowl. She desperately stamped her feet to avoid the insects that were crazily charging at her. But there were still many ants and spiders that climbed onto her skirt and climbed onto her body. Her bright red skirt instantly became gray and black. It was densely packed with insects. Ah! Save me, save me! She screamed. She felt many ants crawl into her pants and touch her delicate skin. They started to bite her skin, causing pain and itchiness. Especially when she saw the furry spiders, she was so disgusted that she wanted to vomit. The guards of Duke Ningfu were also frightened. They waved the swords on their waists and helped Zhao Rongjunju drive away the insects. But using the swords on their waists to deal with these insects that were like ants and cockroaches was useless. They could only use their feet to step on them and their hands to catch the insects that were crawling onto Zhao Rongjunju's skirt. But there were more and more insects. It was impossible to get rid of them all. They could not catch them all. It was like a black ocean that completely drowned Zhao Rongjunju. Zhao Rongjunju tightly closed her mouth and did not dare to make a sound. She was afraid that if she opened her mouth, those disgusting insects would crawl into her mouth. Nightmare. This must be a nightmare. These insects must be crazy, crazy. The common people were originally frightened by the flood of insects. At this time, they found that the target of these insects was not them, but Zhao Rongjunju. They couldn't help but widen their eyes in surprise. Wang wang wang. Buzz buzz buzz. Just as Zhao Rongjunju was being tortured by the bugs, everyone suddenly heard the sound of the air vibrating. They all looked towards the source of the sound. In the distance, a large mass of black objects was flying over, flying closer and closer. This is bad. It's a bee. Not only bees, but also mosquitoes. Oh my God, why are there so many mosquitoes? Everyone turned pale with fright. They waved their sleeves and fled in all directions again. Run, run. The crowd was in chaos. But the bees and mosquitoes that had just flown over were not interested in them at all. As they buzzed, they flapped their wings and flew towards Zhao Rongjunju. They were like a pack of hungry wolves that had seen a large piece of delicious meat. Save me! In the blink of an eye, Zhao Rongjunju was surrounded by bees and mosquitoes. She used her hands to protect her face. She felt the back of her hand itch and hurt. In that instant, countless bees and mosquitoes had bitten the back of her hand. Her entire body was covered in bees and mosquitoes, ants, and spiders. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.